Well, hidey-ho there, everyone! Today, I'm gonna be making my longest video ever on this channel. I've been waiting for, ever for a leftist streamer type Vaush person to do a video on me. And I finally got my wish granted. Now, his channel is very small, so please don't harass this guy. I know his Twitch streaming channel is bigger, but it's not that much bigger. Anytime I talk about someone who's smaller than me, I always have to tell my fan base to not harass them. Even though I know someone is gonna twist this into me bragging about my sub count or something. He's going over my video, Is Every Movie Bombing Because of Wokeness? Which is on my main channel, and I highly recommend you check it out before you continue this video. It's fine, I'll wait. Welcome back! Now, for those of you who didn't check it out, well, if you get lost, don't complain in my comment section. Now, the reason why this is the longest video on this channel is because this guy's video is 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 5 seconds long. Here's the clips I will be responding to and the clips I will not be responding to. And here's everything I took out. Now, before I get into his video, I need to talk about the word woke. What does it mean? Well, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It started off in the black community, then it was adopted by intersectional feminists, and then people on the right started using it as an insult. After that, the left, of course, gave up the word to the right so they could do whatever they wanted with it. Because there's no dictionary definition for the word woke, it can mean tons and tons of different things. Some people will tell you that the word woke refers to people pretending to do the right thing, even though they're not. Others will tell you that it's just a left-wing version of based and red-pilled. Others say it's just leftism, and a few people will say that it just means women and minorities. Now, to me personally, it kind of means a combination of those things. Things that are woke can be good. Like if there was a movie based off the Epic of Muindo, and it explored African mythology in very interesting ways, then that would be an example of good wokeness. But if they decided to make Muindu into a woman, and give her a girlfriend, and also added in a bunch of Native American characters and Chinese characters to talk about the evils of capitalism, then that would be an example of bad wokeness. And it's not because I don't want a female lead or LGBT representation or Native American characters, but it's because, well, that's not what the story is about. And yes, I'm fine with people criticizing capitalism, but there's a time and a place for it. And African mythology is neither the place and definitely not the time for it. Whether it's capitalism, communism, fascism, feudalism, or whatever else, all forms of government should be allowed to be criticized. I'm just here to enjoy a movie. I'm not here to be preached to. And I can tell when the people preaching to me are being completely fake about it. That's when I finally stand up and say, this movie is full of woke bullshit. But there's always that useful idiot who looks at me and says, oh, I get it, you hate this movie because you hate women and minorities. I really should have explained this in my video about wokeness destroying the theater industry, but, you know, better late than never. Anyways, let's get into this BreadTuber's video.
By the way, that Just a Robot guy recommended Vaush in one of his vids? Really? Maybe I'll be less harsh on him than I initially thought I would.
Wow, he just started his video and he's already wrong. In my video, What Are My Political Opinions? I said I'm not an economics YouTuber, so check out Vaush or Freedom Tunes or something. I picked those two guys because, well, they're complete opposites.
So what I am saying is that I'm not an economics YouTuber. If you want an economics YouTuber, go watch Vaush or Seamus or some shit.
Yeah, people who didn't like Freedom Tunes bashed me for this take, and people who didn't like Vaush bashed me for this take. I think there was even one guy who thought I was saying that they were the same, even though I clearly picked them because they're total opposites. But here's the thing that really confuses me. This Y2K guy says he'll be less harsh on me because I recommended Vaush? Bro, your video was uploaded after Vaush exposed his, folder full of horses and anime children. There are plenty of great videos out there bashing Vaush, like that really well done Vaush is unironically evil video, Willie Max videos on Vaush, and plenty of others. I could go into more detail about why I don't like Vaush, but this video isn't really about him, so I'm just gonna continue.
Yeah, it's possible his politics are strange. His politics probably, like many Americans, are completely incoherent.
At least I'm not a Canadian. Those guys think nationalism is left-wing. But yeah, this guy is also from the USA, you can kind of tell by his accent, and yeah, he's one of those self-hating Americans. Bro, you should be proud to be an American. You're from a country that made it to the moon. and beat Tetris. And it seems that no one is seeing any other movie that's coming out, aside from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. But why is this?
By the way, Across the Spider-Verse, probably the wokest fucking movie of 2023. I misspoke last time when I was talking about that in the Map Hat video. It was 2023, not 2022.
Okay, buddy, Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny was way more woke than that movie. But the movie Spider-Verse really didn't feel all that woke to me. At least not in a bad way. I don't really care if a half-black guy is the main character or not. The movie wasn't trying to shove its ideology down my throat so I could actually enjoy it. I mean, after all, The Flash was a superhero movie and it also bombed. I'm 100% sure that the reason why people didn't go see it had everything to do with superhero fatigue and nothing at all to do with the actor Ezra Miller. I mean, come on, the pandemic just happened. The economy isn't as good as it used to be.
I have money. Hold up. I have some thoughts about that. That is a valid thing to point out. Ezra Miller is a fucking monster. But that's not the only reason that the Flash movie did so poorly. One of the big reasons is because of certain trends that were established in pandemic and post-pandemic movie making.
It's almost as if I said the pandemic just happened.
Being the, like, over-reliance on computer graphics, something that's been getting worse for some time.
Oh, so it's one of those you didn't mention X, therefore biased arguments. Bro, this doesn't debunk anything I've said. I didn't say the movie only bombed because Ezra Miller was starring in it. However, Ezra Miller being in it certainly made a few people not want to watch it.
And also, like, overworking employees and whatever, the lack of a union for VFX workers, whatever.
Well, I suppose a handful of people decided not to go see the movie because employees were overworked. But I think that's only like a couple hundred people at most. When was the last time you even heard someone say, I'm not gonna go see this movie because the employees were overworked? Like, this is one of the biggest you didn't mention X therefore biased arguments I've seen in a very long time. Are you also gonna bring up that a few people didn't go see it because they were behind on their mortgage or something? Bro, there are many, many reasons as to why someone won't go see a movie. I'm not gonna list out all of them.
A set of surrounding circumstances in movie production that is causing movies to get worse because they are viewed more as generic, safe investments to be made rather than pieces of art to be worked on, produced, and thoroughly, like, fleshed out with the time and care that you would expect from such an intricate work of art.
It's weird that happened right when the woke mind virus hit. It's almost like they're more focused on being progressive so their ESG score goes up than actually making a good movie. And they also realize it's way more convenient to watch a movie while it's on a streaming service than going all the way.
And also the superhero fatigue a bit. Like, the
beep beep. But, yeah, dude, if there's so much superhero fatigue, then, why did Spider-Verse do so good? It's almost like if they made good superhero movies, people would actually go see them.
One of the things that carried Across the Spider-Verse is that it was a good movie. In addition to it being about superheroes, it was kind of a deconstruction more than a flat, like, narrative reproduction of the superhero mythos.
Oh, okay, so it was still a superhero movie. Even if it's a deconstruction of the superhero mythos, it's still a superhero movie. And even if it wasn't a deconstruction of the superhero mythos, which I don't really think it was, I think people would have still seen it.
Because, spoilers for those who haven't seen it, I'm about to spoil Across the Spider-Verse. The bad guy in that movie is Spider-Man.
Oh my god, dude, that's such a spoiler to anyone who hasn't seen the trailer for the movie.
Not Miles, but Spider-Man.
Yes, I know that, and so does everybody else who's seen the trailer.
Spider-Man is both the good guy and the bad guy in the movie. It fundamentally deconstructs our notion of, like, what is Spider-Man? What is Spider-Man supposed to be? Is this, like...
I'm gonna be honest here, bro. I don't think the movie really does that. Like, at the end of the day, art is subjective, so if that was your takeaway from the movie, then that's fine, but in, like, any show, movie, comic book, or video game that deals with the concept of the multiverse, often the big bad is an evil version of the hero. Are you gonna say that evil Morty is a deconstruction of what Morty is supposed to be or something?
is this actually helpful, or are you doing anything good by being this image of Spider-Man?
I don't think it was about the image of Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2099 believed that if certain canon events didn't happen, then universes would be destroyed. He didn't believe that other versions of Spider-Man needed to live up to a certain image, just that they had to follow the same plot line.
So that kind of does a bit to get around the superhero fatigue, which is a real thing.
Okay, I guess superhero fatigue is a real thing, but if these movies weren't full of woke bullshit, a lot more people would actually see them. It's all because of a little fella named Broke, first name Woke.
But hold on there, Just a Robot. You just
Oh,
said
wait a minute.
Spider-Verse did good. Isn't that movie woke?
Well,
Yes,
I guess it is.
it is.
I mean,
A little? This is the wokest fucking movie that I've ever seen in my life. You could not pick out a woker movie if you tried. You could literally bring Wall Street to the table, and Spider-Man Spider-Verse would still out-woke that shit.
Well, I've never seen the movie Wall Street, so I can't say if it's more or less woke than that movie, but I can think of movies that are more woke than Spider-Verse. For example, She-Hulk, oh wait, that's a TV show. Velma, oh wait, that's a TV show. Okay, let me check my channel. God, I talk way more about TV shows than I do movies. Oh wait, here's one, Last Jedi. I think there are very few people who would say that Spider-Verse is more woke than that movie.
Wall Street literally being a movie about the evils of capitalism and how the system is inherently designed to break apart legitimate lines of work, divide the world among rich fucks.
Again, haven't seen that movie, but that doesn't sound all that woke to me. Like, everything revolving around Admiral Haldo alone is way more woke than that.
All of these guys tried to cancel the movie at first? Exactly.
Oh yeah, I did try to cancel this movie. Oh no, wait, I didn't. Critical Drinker did. Oh wait, he didn't. Now, I'm sure there's a few anti-woke people who thought this movie was going to be bad, but then they gave it a chance and they realized, this is way better than the trailer led me to believe. I mean, after all, something very similar did happen to the Mario movie. A lot of people thought Peach was going to be a Mary Sue in that movie, but she wasn't.
Look, this movie not only has a black protagonist and set of very diverse characters, including a,
Oh my god, you guys, the main character is black, like a lot of other movies, and it's very ethnically diverse, like a lot of other movies. But the thing is, it's not trying to preach to you, so I don't really consider it to be woke, at least not in a bad way.
Including Gwen, who is trans, or at least very heavily implied to be trans in the movie.
When? Dude, you made that up! A handful of idiots did jump to that conclusion because, well, her suit has the same colors as the trans flag, even though Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman has been around a lot longer than the trans flag. And if we're following that line of logic, well, Miles Morales' spider suit colors match the oh no! Oh yeah, and there's also a brief scene where she has a flag in the background that says protect trans kids. You know, I've actually seen a lot of cis people with that flag.
Incredibly critical of all the power structures that anti-woke people fucking love.
Yeah, anti-woke people are very well known for loving organizations that protect the multiverse. I mean, I guess on a very surface level, it's critical of the police, but, so is Terminator and RoboCop. I guess the punk Spider-Man said that the rift in time and space was a metaphor for capitalism, but that was only a very brief scene. It doesn't really say anything bad about the military-industrial complex, at least from what I can remember, so, what are you talking about?
It has a lot of feminist undertones.
It does? Where?
Well, not just undertones, tones in general. The fact that fucking Gwen is treated like a person in that movie.
Oh my god, you guys! The woman is treated like a person! Therefore, it's feminist! You know, dude, you don't have to be a feminist to respect women, right? And what is this, like, first-wave feminism? Most people are critical of third-wave and fourth-wave feminism.
And that she's treated normally, that makes this one of the wokest movies out there.
Wait, so let me get this straight. So because a woman is treated normally, it makes it one of the wokest movies out there. I gotta be honest here, buddy, from what I've seen, most people who criticize wokeness talk about movies that treat women as if they're perfect and can do no wrong. Like Disney's live-action Mulan, Captain Marvel, and Rey from Star Wars. Now maybe I missed a few anti-woke videos that say things along the lines of, oh my god, this movie is so woke because it treated a woman like a person. But I certainly haven't seen them, so I really hate to pull this card, but Citation needed.
Bechdel test, eat your heart out, whatever.
Oh no, not the Bechdel test. That topic deserves its own video.
The fact that Hobie Brown fucking exists in this movie?
He exists as a side character. I don't think that makes this movie that woke, to be honest. All of this stuff combined is still less woke than Admiral Haldo.
Gripping dance of ideologies between this kid who wants to make the world better and who wants basically a life of freedom for himself.
Okay, now that's a good example of wokeness. A guy who wants to do the right thing, but also wants to live freely. But in all seriousness, dude, you could also say this is the most libertarian movie ever. I mean, it's about a guy who wants to live freely after all. Imagine calling a movie woke because the main character wants to do the right thing.
In a way that seems pretty reasonable, I think, to everybody who's watching, and then like,
oh yeah, from people who are watching the movie, yeah, what Miles is doing is reasonable. But as far as Miles knows, saving his dad could end the entire universe, which is absolutely not reasonable. Like, we know that Spider-Man 2099 is wrong about what causes the universes to end, but Miles doesn't know that.
This spider society that is constructed in a very authoritarian, fascistic sort of way, led by a literal strongman.
What's fascistic about it? They're just trying to save the multiverse. Now, I guess it's authoritarian. I mean, it is an organization. And yes, it's led by a strongman. Thanos is also a strongman, along with Darkseid and pretty much any big bad you can think of. But he's also, brown. He's not exactly a white guy, so by your logic, wouldn't anti-woke people like this movie?
That manipulates the fears of a young marginalized
Yes, people with superpowers are very marginalized. Like, he's not really manipulating their fears. He himself believes if they don't follow certain canon events, then universes will end. Are we talking about the same movie?
Person in the form of Gwen.
Oh, I get it. She's marginalized because she's a woman. Dude, every group has women in it. So by your logic, is every single group authoritarian and fascistic?
And like tries to tell Miles that like, oh, in order to be good, you have to be able to do bad.
Not exactly. He didn't tell Miles to do something bad, he just told him, hey, don't save your dad, because if you do, the universe will end. Which is something he absolutely believes will happen. He's not telling Miles he should do something bad, he's just telling him he shouldn't do something good. Which I guess you could argue is the same thing, but you could also argue it's not. For example, let's say you have the chance to kill a very big crime lord. But if you kill him, it will create a big power vacuum, causing crime to skyrocket. In this example, not doing good would be the right thing to do.
Which is literally a thing that the Nazis believed.
Oh my god, they also believed that drinking water was good for you. Bro, are you serious? Every single ideology believes you have to do bad in order to do good. Like, don't people on your side say, no bad tactics, only bad targets or something?
The bad guy in this movie is like ideologically sort of in line with fascistic narratives that the Nazis heavily relied on.
You mean like certain things have to happen in a universe in order for it to not collapse?
Which is not to say that the bad guys in this movie are Nazis.
Okay, then what are they?
If you asked Miguel O'Hara, he would probably tell you that, yeah, racism is fucking cringe, homophobia is cringe, and whatever. But still, at the core, there's this weird militaristic over-reliance on toxic masculinity and strength and stoicism, and that is the bad guy.
Stoicism is bad? Okay. They're not really militaristic, they're more like a police force, if anything. An interdimensional police force, if you will. Do they have a focus on strength? I mean, I guess, but it's no more than any other superhero team. They're only bringing on spider people, they're not exactly bringing on Bill from accounting. But most importantly of all, where's the toxic masculinity? Yeah, I guess the leader is pretty masculine, but he's not really toxic. He's just misguided. And no, he's not misguided on masculinity, he's misguided on why the universes are ending.
So if you're saying that this movie is kinda woke, you've lost the plot. It is the wokest fucking movie that exists probably out there.
Bro, I'm gonna be real here. I don't think I did lose the plot. In fact, if anything, I think you lost the plot. I don't even know what movie you were describing. I got none of that from Spider-Verse.
Except maybe Barbie. But that movie did good too, so.
Arguably, yeah, Barbie was pretty woke, but it was also pretty anti-woke at the same time. I hated the movie at first, but after I saw Shoe on Head's video, I have a different perspective on it. I highly recommend you guys check it out.
Do you support Trump? No, I do not. He might not actively want me dead, like everybody else in the Republican Party seems to.
I don't know why anyone would think this guy of all people would support Trump, but, why would people in the Republican Party want you dead? You're a white guy.
But he would be perfectly willing to abide by my death and others in the queer community.
Oh, you're gay. People in the Republican Party, for the most part, don't want LGBT people dead, they just want to convert them. But, Milo Yiannopoulos is, like, cartoonishly gay, and he was one of the biggest Republicans for a long time. Okay, I'm just gonna skip the rest of this and get back to when he's talking about my video.
Let me get back to the video here.
Main character is Blaxican, but there's so much more
Yes.
to his personality.
Whoa, hold on, get it right, dumbass. He's Puerto Rican.
Yes, that was a mistake on my part. I went over this enough in my Communist Creeper video already, so I'm not gonna go over it here.
Just that. He's not just some Gary Stu who's good at everything. Just like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and Man Spider. He had to learn how to use his powers
Very true.
and how to become a true hero.
Now that is a critical misunderstanding, I think, of the movie.
He didn't have to learn how to become a true hero? Did you not see the last movie or this movie? Okay, let's hear his arguments.
Especially with the pose that he's doing. Remember I was talking about fascistic military narratives?
An American salute? Bro, the Americans fought against the fascists. And if you think military poses are fascistic, then you have a very broad definition of fascism, my friend.
About the hardness of like, being an emotional rock or some shit like that, and stoicism.
Which are all good qualities. Where are you going with this?
That's not what the movie's about.
Oh, I see. You thought the salute I was doing was implying that he became a true war hero or something. I gotta be honest here, buddy. That's a very weird conclusion to come to based on a pose my character did.
The movie is about, like, Miles.
Yes, the movie is indeed about Miles. You are correct about that.
A coming-of-age story and things like that. But it's more about him.
Yes, it is more about him. That's why he's the main character. Okay, I know that's not his actual point. But, dude, you can have a story about a guy coming of age and also learning how to be a true hero. They are not mutually exclusive to one another.
Deconstructing the notion of being a hero, because he looks at all these other Spider-Men and does think that they're heroes. But then he realizes that's not good. Like, what they're doing.
Oh, okay, so he's still learning how to become a true hero. Sometimes being a true hero is, well, going against the grain and doing your own thing. I think if he just threw his morals to the side and said, "No, I'm just gonna do what all the other spider people are doing," then that would be the opposite of heroic.
That's not good. Like, what they're doing, while in some ways it might conform to heroic standards, is not good.
Well, yeah, from his perspective, what they're doing isn't good. Granted, he is technically risking his entire universe by saving his dad, but we as the audience knows that what he's doing is the right thing.
Miles fucks up a lot, and the movie is a lot about Miles learning and becoming more confident, and by the end you see that.
Oh, you mean the moment when he becomes a true hero?
I think there's the real moments, like him standing up sideways on the train, like as it's going up like this, and he stands up on it. He says goodbye, Gwen, or whatever. That's a moment where I think, you know, it kind of snapped for me that, like, oh shit, he is like, he's him. Literally, he's him.
That was the moment it clicked for you that Miles Morales was himself? What? And by the way, this is not out of context, because after this, he just answers a question from someone in his chat.
Do you think the government kills people that talk about the secrets of the government? No.
Anyways, I'm going to be skipping a few minutes of his video because he, well, stopped talking about my video to talk about how Martin Luther King was probably killed by the government because he was a socialist or something.
Anyways, I'm getting off track. Let me get back to the
isn't always easy
video.
balancing your life saving people while also still getting to class on time, along with a whole bunch of other social events. Because he's young, he's left out of the loop, and he has to do what he can to prove himself. And of course, like many versions of Spider-Man, he has to ask himself if what he's doing is the right thing or not. There's also a whole bunch of other races of Spider-Man, but I don't really care. They get just the right amount of screen time, and they're not like
I don't think I necessarily disagree with what he's saying there, but the fact that he phrased it as there's a whole bunch of different races of Spider-Man seems a little bit weird to me.
Why? No, seriously, why? There were a bunch of different races of Spider-Man. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing, just that's a thing that was in the movie. Why do you have a problem with this?
You could have just said there's a whole bunch of different spider people.
Well, if I said that, then I wouldn't have been talking about, like, the woke aspect of this movie. Granted, it's a good woke aspect of this movie, but if I said there was a bunch of different spider people, some people might get confused as to what I was talking about.
I don't know. I could be reading too much into that, but that sounded really weird.
Yeah, you are reading way too much into it, and there was nothing weird about what I said.
lecturing me, aside from that one line from Indian Spider-Man.
Break for a cup of chai with my auntie.
Bro, how are you gonna watch that movie? You don't know this man's name is fuck, I can't pronounce his name. Pravitra. God damn it! You know what? Maybe he was right. Just call him Indian Spider-Man.
Okay, that was kind of funny.
Love chai tea. What did you just say? Chai tea? Chai means tea, bro. You're saying tea. Would I ask you for a coffee with room for cream? Oh.
This scene was so cute.
But to be honest, that's a mistake I've made, and I'm glad to be corrected on it. Indian Spider-Man, if you're watching this, I would like to return the favor to you. Use your powers to get rid of the caste system in your country.
Wow, okay, actual racism.
Yes, I agree. The caste system is actual racism.
Yeah, no, I don't think I need to take anything this guy says especially seriously, except for his Vaush recommendation, because that's based.
Oh, you were saying what I said was actual racism. I'm gonna be honest here, buddy. I don't think calling out a racist system in one of the most racist countries in the world is racism. This is such a, I'm not the actual racist, you are moment. Also, I didn't really recommend Vaush, and if I did, that is the opposite of based.
Do they even have a caste system in fucking Mumbatan?
Well, they didn't really bring it up, but if they have Indian everything else, then they probably also have the caste system.
For all we know, they don't.
Well, for all we know, they seem to have Indian everything else, so they probably do.
Indian, haha, that means caste system. Fucking dumbass.
No, dude, I'm not being a dumbass. India does have a caste system. I'm not saying that because Indian Spider-Man is Indian that he supports it, and that he should probably use his powers to tear down a very, very institutionalized racist system. Now, by the off chance that you actually support the caste system, wow, you're a piece of shit.
I've also heard arguments that the one white straight male Spider-Man is kind of a loser, especially when you compare.
Also, he's, that guy, oh no! The one white straight Spider-Man is also, it's worth noting that he's Jewish.
Why did you bring up that he was Jewish? That's kind of sus. Like, are you saying we should, do something about the Jews? Like, do you see how annoying that is? Like, that's something you've been unironically doing to me throughout this entire video. Oh, and, by the way, white people can be Jewish too. It's a faith, not a race.
Peter B. Parker is, Jewish Spider-Man, which is very cool to me.
What? You think it's cool what Israel is doing to Palestine? But in all seriousness, I wouldn't say that it's cool that he's Jewish. Like, it's not uncool, but it's, not really cool either.
I don't know if he's gonna, like, harp on the fact that, like, oh, they made the one white Spider-Man a loser. But they did and they didn't, right?
That is a nothing statement if I've ever heard one. They did make him a loser, but they also didn't make him a loser.
Here's my thoughts on Peter B. Parker as Spider-Man. And before I even know what this guy's gonna say, I might very well agree with him, who knows.
Here's some friendly advice. It's better to hear what your opponent's point is before you go off on a tangent.
Is that he's no more a loser than anybody else in the Spider Society or any other Spider-Man, right?
Oh my god, this guy sounds like Cenk Uygur. He says right after he makes a point.
Which is to say, he isn't a loser, but also he is. Because, you know, you can kind of think about it. every Spider-Man is a little bit of a loser. As in, like, they have a really hard time. Most of them are very socially awkward and kind of outcast, and were sort of, in one way or another, based off the, like, nerdy high school kid archetype. At least, you go back to the original Spider-Man comics and shit. And, you see throughout the movie, he's got a kid. He's got a wife and kid. He's got a family. And he just sort of shows up in his bathrobe and slippers, which I respect the hell out of. And he's also incredibly smart and has probably the best conscience and the best rapport with Miles out of all the Spider-Men. So, like, I feel like the movie doesn't portray him that much as just a loser. And if it does, it's meant to sort of show that, like, yeah, all these spider people are kind of losers. Who among us is not a loser in some way? It's something like that. I don't know.
Well, I guess so. No version of Spider-Man is perfect. All of them have ups and downs throughout their lives. But my point is that he's a loser compared to all the other versions of Spider-Man. Is he awkward and slower? Yes. His outfit makes it look like he just got out of bed, while everybody else looks like they're ready for a mission. He has a baby with him right now, so he's obviously not going to go on any cool missions. And if we look at the last movie, well, he's clearly overweight.
Compare him to all the other ones. He's awkward, slower, in a robe, wearing sandals, and carrying a baby around with him.
Bro, you're gonna say that makes somebody a loser? Fuck off. Dude, this is such a surface level critique.
I agree, your video is a surface level critique.
I get where those people are coming from, but I do have a few
Oh wait, no, he's arguing against this. Never mind. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you should do this cool new thing called figuring out what your opponent's point is before you argue against it.
I get where those arguments come from, and they're also stupid.
You know, instead of insulting the people you disagree with, why don't you, argue against them?
And I don't agree, and I don't respect people who make those arguments, so...
Oh my god, this guy.
Counter arguments. Number one, he's from the last movie. He was a lesser version of the white straight male Spider-Man from Miles Morales' world.
His name is Penis Parker. Penis P. Parker. Ow, my hand.
The writers didn't make up this character for this movie so they could say, look, every version of Spider-Man is amazing, except for the white male. Also, when all the other Spider-Man
actually.
After Miles Morales,
that's right.
He's the first one to catch up to him, and is
yes.
the only one who tried to talk things out with him. So yeah, one could just as easily make an argument going in the opposite direction. Wow, dude, really? The one white male Spider-Man is the only one who tries to talk things out instead of randomly chasing after him blindly following.
Okay, I see what he's going at. He's deconstructing the, like, woke versus anti-woke id poll arguments.
Wait, what's id poll? I've been making anti-woke videos for a while, and this is the first time I've ever heard of it. Okay, I looked it up. Apparently, id poll just stands for identity politics.
He likes this movie, so of course he won't criticize the wokeness.
I can criticize movies I actually like. I do it all the time. Hell, I have a few criticisms of this movie. But maybe I just don't criticize the wokeness because I don't have a problem with how they're doing it, and they're also not shoving it down my throat. I'm gonna skip another big section of this guy's video. Basically, all he's doing is agreeing with me.
Ah, good try, Yoshi, but I was,
well,
the better
clear to
driver.
me that this movie is just pandering to MAGA people. I mean, there was also the black punk.
Nobody made that argument, by the way.
There are billions of people in the world. I'm sure someone out there has made this argument before, but I was clearly just giving an example of an argument someone could make going in the opposite direction. I'm not saying anyone did or did not make that argument.
Spider-Man who didn't chase after him, but he kind of just fucked off. But then we have, Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, whose race bent into being black. And just like in the comics, she's pregnant. When she's first introduced in the show, she shows up on a red cool motorcycle.
Okay. This is going to be very difficult because as we've established, I'm not good at distinguishing when he's making fun of an argument or when he's making the argument himself. If he's making this argument, this guy's a retard. But if he's making fun of this argument, I'm gonna be willing to hear him out.
Wow, this dude just called me a slur. I'm pretty sure this guy knows I'm autistic. It's pretty easy to tell going off of my speech patterns. I guarantee you, if I was black, he would probably call me a dumb monkey or something. I'm joking, everyone. I'm not gonna be that uncharitable with this guy. Everyone has called everyone retarded, but if the situation was reversed, he would have had a panic attack over it. But I do love how this guy said, if this guy is actually making this argument, he's a retard, but if he agrees with me, I'll actually hear him out. Bro, stop being a child. You should hear people out if they disagree with you. And if it's hard for you to tell if I'm making an argument or not, why don't you let my full point play before you talk about it?
Cycle and takes out the villain who was giving the other two versions of Spider-Man a lot of problems. She also seems to be one of the highest ranked Spider people, and when Spider-Gwen meets her, she's completely speechless until she blurts out, "Can you adopt me?" I understand that Spider-Man is a decently strong superhero, but I'm pretty sure even for their level of strength, swinging around and doing all those kicks and flips and other things cannot be good for the baby she's carrying around.
Okay, no, yeah, this is retard shit.
Okay, I'm not gonna be uncharitable with this guy and be like, he called me a slur because he couldn't come up with an argument. But this is something I really hate about Vaushites. Oh, using slurs is bad, except for when we do them.
The fact that, like, Jessica Drew's Spider-Man does all this, like...
Spider-Woman, get it right.
Yeah, obviously, you know, I did kind of wonder, like, oh shit, you know, she's got a baby in there. I hope the baby's okay, I guess.
Okay, so you agree with my argument, awesome. Granted, you would be completely insane if you didn't. I mean, it's common sense that pregnant women shouldn't be in combat situations.
But, like, all of this is nitpicks. All of this shit is, like, not a real...
No, it's not a nitpick. Pregnant women should not be driving around on motorcycles and swinging around all over the place. That is very, very bad for the baby. Like this whole, oh, she kicks ass, but she's also pregnant, is like pandering to the max.
Critique of that, like, oh, they race bent her to be black.
Oh, well, that wasn't really a critique. I just brought up that she was race bent into being black. Granted, it is pandering. I mean, not only was she already a woman and pregnant, but now she has to be black on top of that. She really checks off a lot of the progressive boxes.
Like, okay, they wrote it pretty well in the movie.
How did they write her being race bent well? In fact, I don't even think you knew she was race bent until I brought it up. I wouldn't say they handled it poorly, but I wouldn't say they handled it well either.
I didn't even know about Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman.
Okay, so you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know if this was written well or not.
And I didn't know that she was white in the comics, unless it's just regular Spider-Woman, in which case I think this is actually a much better written version, at least than the original Spider-Woman.
Okay, so because she's pregnant and black, that means she's better written. What? Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman is not just regular Spider-Woman, and I said she was race bent into being black. I never said she was originally white in the comics. Now I want to make this clear, she is white in the comics, but I didn't bring that up in my video. Also, if I said something like this guy would have been like, what do you mean by that? So if she's white and not pregnant, she's normal to you?
He also provided the defeater for his own argument there. It makes sense that she's here and, like...
I didn't defeat my own argument. I never said that it does make sense for her to be here. A pregnant woman shouldn't be on the battlefield.
Taking out the villain in this scene, because Miguel called for backup. Initially...
Oh, yes, he did call for backup, but there are literally thousands upon thousands of other versions of Spider-Man. I really think he should have gotten backup from one who, you know, wasn't carrying a baby in their stomach.
Miguel went in alone. It's shown that, like, Miguel is super stubborn, doesn't usually like asking for help, again, because he's an insecure, like, guy that, like, wrestles with toxic masculine tropes all the time.
No, he doesn't wrestle with toxic masculine tropes all the time. You just made that up. The guy was already fighting alongside Spider-Gwen. Two Spider people were fighting against a Renaissance version of the Vulture. And when he realized he did need help, he told his AI thing to call, a pregnant Spider-Woman to help him. He called for backup in the span of like a minute. If I had all the powers of Spider-Man, and I was fighting alongside someone who had the exact same powers as me, I would feel embarrassed calling for backup against a Renaissance version of the Vulture.
And like there's that scene where he's bantering with Lila about like, hey, can you call for backup, please? And then Lila's like, you gotta say it louder. And then when he does call for backup, she shows up. She's like Miguel's number two.
Yeah, this does not debunk anything I said. I said Jessica Drew was one of the highest ranked spider people, and I said that she came in on her rad cool motorcycle. Y2K is just doing that thing where he actually agrees with me, but he's trying his best to make it sound like a disagreement.
Like, oh my god, she's black. Okay, and?
Buddy, my much bigger complaint was that she was, you know, pregnant. Like, sure, her being race bent into being black is certainly pandering, but it's not really that big of a problem. Wait a second, do you think my actual point is, oh my god, a man had to call in a black person to help them? Like, buddy, the easier straw man to make would have been, oh my god, a man had to call a woman for help. Apparently I have a problem with POC women, but I don't have a problem with POC men, I guess.
Bro.
In fact, I'm pretty sure she would go from pregnant Spider-Woman to miscarriage Spider-Woman.
It's a girl.
She also becomes the sensei to Spider-Gwen, who constantly sings her praises. Have you seen a lot of the videos on—
No. No, that doesn't happen in the movie. This guy's just doing revisionism.
No, Jessica Drew does bring Gwen under her wing, and Gwen at several points in the movie does sing her praises. But maybe he's talking about something else. Let's hear his argument.
Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, in that movie, is very sympathetic to Gwen because she probably understands, like, a little bit better than some of the people who've had less direct contact with Gwen.
Wait, are you talking about Jessica Drew? At this moment, she literally just met Gwen. What are you talking about?
The experiences that she's going through. Keep in mind that Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman, at this point, has, like, basically been completely alienated from her family since, like—
no, Gwen was not alienated from her father at this time. Gwen said to Jessica Drew, "Can you adopt me?" before her father found out about her secret identity. You claim I'm doing revisionism, and then you do it yourself, my god. And how would Jessica Drew know about the experience Gwen was going through? They just met, and those experiences didn't happen yet.
Her dad, who's a cop, thinks that she killed her, like, her best friend and whatever.
Oh yeah, her dad thinks that Spider-Gwen did that, but he didn't know that his daughter was Spider-Gwen at this point. And also, how could Jessica Drew understand what Gwen is going through? Again, they just met. And I don't think Jessica Drew went through anything like this.
And like, she asks, "Can you adopt me?" First of all, it's, like, really cute because she's, like, totally, awestruck by this Spider-Woman, but then also because she doesn't have anywhere to go.
No, once again, she did have somewhere to go because her dad did not discover her secret identity until after she said this. And again, this is proving my point. Upon meeting this woman, she was like, "Oh my god, you're so cool, can you adopt me?" So she is constantly singing her praises.
Miguel and Jessica Drew are about to leave. She's like, "I can't fix this." And then they're like, "Okay, yeah, join the club."
Oh my god, that's something that actually happened in the movie. Okay, so how does this debunk anything I said?
But, you know, Jessica Drew being her mentor and stuff, she is incredibly critical of Gwen.
Yes, mentors are often critical of their students. How does this debunk anything I've said?
In fact, it almost mirrored, like, when I was watching the movie, it reminded me a little bit of abusive relationship dynamics. Like,
well, art is subjective, so you're entitled to have that opinion, but people sing the praises of people who are abusive towards them all the time.
"Oh, I don't know if I can help you. You're falling behind here. I don't know. You know, you might not be welcome in our organization much longer." These are not the mark of somebody who constantly sings the praises of somebody else.
Oh, well, of course it isn't, and I never said it was. I'm saying that Gwen is singing the praises of Jessica Drew. I never said nor implied that Jessica Drew was singing the praises of Gwen Stacy. I think you got the characters mixed up, buddy. And yeah, that's the end of his argument. He debunked none of what I said, claimed I was doing revisionism, and then just did revisionism himself. On my channel, especially the ones about Mary Sue's, then you probably think that I really hate this character, right? In a way, yeah.
El Bozo.
Yes, but they do have one saving grace. She's not the main character. If she was, this movie would have bombed like all the other ones.
Oh my god. I don't know how much I can actually say about this video, truth be told, because this guy clearly isn't engaging with things that actually happen in the movie so far.
Actually, I have been engaging with things that actually happened in this movie. You've just been changing all of my points before you talk about them. And before you ask, no, he does not engage with my point, he just continues to play my video.
At least not beyond a very surface level.
Yeah, she basically ticks off all of the progressive boxes. She's black, she's a woman, she's pregnant, and every character seems to absolutely...
She's not trans, she's not an anarchist, so not all of the progressive boxes. Dude, okay.
I never said all of them, I said basically all of them. And if she was trans, well, with our current level of medical technology, she couldn't be pregnant. And she is dating an anarchist, so she might be an anarchist herself.
Arguing with this guy's critique of the Spider-Verse is because he's critiquing the id pull mechanics of the Spider-Verse, right?
Well, Cenk Uygur just said right, so he must be correct.
Like, I'm not very id pull pilled.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't care that much that there's a prominent Spider-Woman who's black and also pregnant.
Well, aside from it being completely pandering, I don't really care either. After all, she's off to the side.
I figure that, like, yeah, wow, I don't know, just hit the randomize button, whatever. It seems like they did a good job with that character, but, like...
Well, I agree with you. They did handle the character well, because they didn't make her the main character.
Everything this guy says is very, like... anti-SJW coded.
I suppose it is. Now what's your point?
It's very bizarre, and I'd much rather be talking about... I'd rather be talking about actual things in the movie rather than the race of the Spider-Woman.
Bro, I brought up that she was race-bent for like 3 seconds. You're acting like I dedicated an entire minute of my video to this. And her being race-bent is an actual thing that happened in the movie. Do you know what would be really cool if you actually engaged with the points I've made in this video, instead of going on and on about how I brought up that a character was race-bent for a whole 3 seconds?
We love her, but she's clearly not the only one who's competent.
Also, the reason that she's not the main character is just because she doesn't have the fucking name recognition of Miles Morales or Gwen Stacy or fucking Peter Parker, right?
Bro, you're not on the Young Turks. You don't have to say right at the end of all your points. I know why people like him and Cenk Uygur do this. It's to convince people that their point is correct. And I do agree that she doesn't have the same star power as those characters, but Miles Morales had way less star power than Peter Parker. But once his movie came out, now he has a lot of star power. But do you know who had less star power than Jessica Drew? Rey. She was never into Star Wars games, comics, or anything until those movies came out. And those movies all made a lot of money, except for the Solo movie, which is ironic considering he has the most star power out of any of those main characters, because the Star Wars brand was a very big IP, and the Spider-Man brand is also a very big IP. But Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman will never have the same star power as Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales because, well, a pregnant Spider-Woman on a motorcycle just looks ridiculous. Like, if there was a movie about a black Spider-Woman, I might go see it, but if it was about a pregnant Spider-Woman, yeah, I definitely wouldn't go see that. A lot of people would go see it just for that reason, but if it was focusing on a black pregnant Spider-Woman that everybody sung the praises of, word would get out that it's not a good movie, and less people would go see it as time went on.
That's why a movie with her would bomb.
Yeah, because it's common sense. A pregnant Spider-Woman is completely ridiculous.
This guy's so id-pull-pilled that he immediately thinks, oh, a black woman who's pregnant? Yeah, this movie would bomb if she was the main character. Not pausing for a fucking second to critically analyze why somebody would be the main character of a movie versus why somebody wouldn't.
Because I don't need to. A pregnant superhero is so silly.
And realizing that, like, oh, wait, this is actually retarded.
Yes, I agree. A pregnant woman being a superhero is completely retarded.
No writer in Hollywood, because writers in Hollywood, believe it or not, are competent and know how to write.
Huh, from what I've seen recently, they absolutely don't know how to write.
No writer in Hollywood would do that.
Give them 5 years and they will.
Fucking id-pull shit, that usually isn't part of the decision-making on movies like this when we're talking about, like, who's the protagonist and whatever.
Yeah, but ESG scores are. Like, if you had a black pregnant woman as your main character, your ESG scores would reach the sky.
Usually it's like, oh, does this work with the story, right?
No, wrong. Often it's like, hey, what can we do to get our ESG scores up so BlackRock will keep funding us?
Is this good writing here? Like, Obviously, I'm not a professional writer, but...
Well, Dire Gentleman was a self-proclaimed professional writer, and I completely destroyed that guy. He took down all the videos I responded to.
There was never... He's shadowboxing. He's shadowboxing right now, and he's like, oh, good thing she wasn't the main character. It's like, okay, nobody ever was going to make that the case.
There are some people who would really like to make that the case, and you know it. But yeah, my point is just that she's not the main character, so she doesn't ruin the movie for me. She's off to the side, so it's not a problem.
In fact, there are several other versions of Spider-Man in this movie who are just as competent as her. Because she's off to the side and barely in this movie, she doesn't ruin it for me. The mythical quote-unquote modern audience gets what they want.
Dude, fuck this. Oh my god. I can't engage with
I
this.
get what I want, a good movie. And
also the implication that you can't have a good movie if there's a black woman as the main lead. Very cool, very,
Notice how he's leaving out the fact that she's pregnant, which is my biggest point against her. I never said, nor implied you can't have a good movie if a black woman is the main lead. You're changing my point because, well, you know you can't argue in favor of a pregnant superhero being the main lead because it's ridiculous. This guy knows I'm right, but he has to change my point so he can slander me. But he does secretly agree with me, and he knows it.
Not retarded of you. Thank you.
Aw, man, dude, you really gotta stop calling me slurs. This is the third time. It's making you look really ableist. How would you like it if I called you a bundle of sticks?
every cop in this movie isn't portrayed as a bad person, according to my progressive...
True, actually, I like that of the movie, because there's a substantial difference between, like, being critical of the police and being critical of every single cop. In fact, that's one of my critiques of the movie, is that it's not critical enough of the police as a concept, as like an institution, whatever.
Interesting. The wokest movie ever is not critical enough of the police.
This guy sounds pretty progressive usually. He's just brain dead on wokeness. I wouldn't be so surprised. There are a lot of people who sort of consume the right-wing slop that's fed to them, even unknowingly. This guy might just be part of those, part of that group of people.
Or you're just misunderstanding every point I've made so far.
It's kind of a trend within a trend. You know, there's a significant subset of the anti-SJW crowd from the 2010s that if you did, like, genuinely have a conversation with them and try to engage with them on like the issues that progressives and leftists actually care about, you'd probably find a lot of agreement. But that, like, they've seen enough buzzwords and enough, like, Fox News articles and enough, I don't know.
Okay, here's the thing. I think if we did sit down and talk, we would find a lot of common ground. The problem is, you will not stop taking cartoonishly uncharitable interpretations with what I said.
Oh, I wish we could sit down and talk things out.
Well, if you want that, start off by not constantly calling me slurs and slandering me. If you want your side to win, just convince 10% of Republicans to stop being Republicans. You don't even have to get them to join you just have to get them to stop being Republicans, and they'll never win another national election again. But the thing is, I think you care more about making yourself look good than actually winning. Also, I'm dyslexic, so I've never read a single Fox News article, and you've been using buzzwords just as much, if not more than me.
The right-wing slop, that their brain sees the buzzword and it gets instantly activated.
I could say the same thing about people on your side.
I don't think he's racist, I just think he's anti-woke. I think that he is both racist and not racist for the things that he's saying in this video.
Okay, first of all, how can someone be simultaneously racist and not racist at the same time? And second, what racist things have I said in this video? That the caste system is a bad system? Is it because I brought up that a character was race-bent because she was? Where's the racism?
If I had a serious conversation with this guy, right, it's entirely possible we would agree, on a lot of issues.
So you'll agree with a racist guy on a lot of issues? In all seriousness, dude, I agree. If we sat down and had a conversation, we would agree on a lot of things. The thing is, you need to stop slandering me and taking cartoonishly uncharitable interpretations with what I say. Throughout my video, I'm trying to have a reasonable conversation with both sides. You, on the other hand, are strawmanning me to make me seem as cartoonishly right-wing as possible.
But the way that he's talking about black characters and ethnically diverse characters in movies is racist, because he is making it about their ethnicity and saying that I am glad this person is not the lead because they are black and I don't want to see that.
Point proven, you did it again. I didn't make it about her race. I brought up that she was race-bent for a whole 3 seconds. I love how you took out that she was pregnant and that she was a woman, but just left in the fact that she was black. Well, do you want to hear a movie that has a black main character and that I do like? This movie! Into the Spider-Verse! Like, dude, can you please strawman me into being sexist? It's a way easier argument to make.
Or rather, modern audiences or like audiences in general don't want to see that he's projecting his internalized racism outward.
Internalized racism? Dude, I'm white. I thought internalized racism towards black people can only be done by black people themselves. At least that's what I thought leftists meant when they said things like internalized racism, internalized misogyny, internalized transphobia, and other stuff like that. And also, I'm not saying that's not what modern audiences want to see. I said the quote-unquote mythical modern audience gets what they want, and I get what I want, a good movie. So I'm not projecting anything onto anyone. If I said modern audiences don't want to see that, then you would have a point. But I said the mythical modern audience gets what they want. I literally said the opposite. The term modern audience is kind of a meme in the anti-woke community. Basically, a studio will do something along the lines of having a pregnant superhero, and then articles will say, this is what modern audiences want. Or they'll remake a movie with a lot of feminist propaganda and a lot of characters being race-bent and say, this is a movie for the modern audience.
Am I going to fault him for this? Partially, because I think it's the duty of every American, patriotically so, to not be a retard.
Oh my god, you guys! He's calling for my death! It's because I'm autistic! Oh no, I gotta get out of here! Gotta go fast!
Like, do you see how uncharitable I was with that point? Well, you're like that throughout this entire video.
Stuff in the mediascape is just like right-wing bullshit?
No, that's completely false. There's way more left-wing bullshit. Right-wingers just have, Jordan Peterson, Fox News, Breitbart, and a handful of other things. Leftists literally have everything else. Most news organizations are left-leaning. Hollywood is extremely left-leaning. And I could go on, but, this topic deserves its own video.
Because when right-wingers say woke, what they mean is black people.
Some do, but most don't. You're just strawmanning the word woke. Critical Drinker is just about the biggest anti-woke channel. He absolutely loved the Spider-Verse movie. Show me one, just one anti-woke channel that only uses the word woke to refer to black people.
Right? Like,
oh my god, shut up.
All of the like in 2022 and 3, all the like right-wing content creators that were like, oh, this movie's woke, and like like some of the Disney remakes, this movie's woke because a woman is the protagonist.
Wait a second, I thought you said that when right-wingers use the term woke, it's referring to black people, but now it's women as well? Well, okay, you changed your point once again, but let's analyze this. So you said that all right-wingers were calling movies woke because a woman was the protagonist. You have no evidence for this claim, but let's look at a few anti-woke channels. Mahler never called a movie woke just because a woman was the protagonist. Drinker didn't do that. Rags didn't do that. Robot Head didn't do that. It's a Gundam didn't do that. In fact, no anti-woke channels that I'm subscribed to have ever done that. And almost ever since movies have existed, women have been protagonists. I'm gonna be honest here, man. If you're gonna make a claim, you should provide a little evidence.
This movie's woke because a black girl is the protagonist. This movie's woke because a black person is the protagonist.
I guess so, but it's not woke in a bad way, at least to me.
That's ultimately what the critique boils down to.
No, at least from what I've seen of anti-woke channels, and even my channel, that's not what the critiques ultimately boil down to.
Because he's talking about wokeness and shit.
Black, but you also have to,
here, hold on.
According to my progressive handbook, you have to like Miles
Damn, they make those?
Yeah, they do. You can find them in any gender studies course.
Dude, if we all had a progressive handbook, the movement would actually go way smoother. Instead, there's like a billion different subsections of progressivism.
Okay, let me get this straight. You're allowed to generalize all anti-woke people, but I can't generalize progressive people? And my generalization is a lot more accurate than your generalization. A lot of progressives like black people, but they also hate cops. You're generalizing anyone who doesn't like woke movies as people who don't like women or black people. It's hard to say. You kind of go back and forth between the two.
That are all like hyper-fragmented Twitter communities that obsess over purity testing and shit.
Really? Not everybody on your side is a monolith? Wow, it's almost like you can say the exact same thing about my side.
Dad because he's black, but you also have to hate.
Yep, see, there's the racism at play.
Really? Where is it? Is it when I said you have to like black people? Is that the racism? Well, if liking black people makes me racist, then call me the Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Him because he's a cop, so I guess they both cancel
Is he automatically goes to race when he is talking about this stuff?
Yes, I automatically go to race when the character's race is relevant. He's both black and a cop. Buddy, pointing out someone's race is not racism. Me saying you're white is not racism. Could you define what you mean by racism? I mean, I did it for woke, so I think you should do it for racism, because I really don't think you know what that word means.
Gwen's father is also a pretty great cop. He's too honorable to break the oath he took, but he's not willing to go through with something that he thinks is wrong. So he quits the force. This movie has something for left-wing people and right-wing people in it, but people went to go see it and
honestly, that's true. It is Gamergate brain, but I do agree with, like, you know, this is an intelligent marketing strategy, is that let's be real, the politics of this movie are not very far below the surface in the slightest.
Yes, I am Gamergate brained. I believe in ethics and journalism. Please tell me you're not one of those idiots who actually believes the mainstream narrative about Gamergate.
But they are enough, they are plausibly deniable enough that, like, a right-wing person that isn't insane, a much more rare sight these days.
Trust me, dude, there are insane people on the left and the right. Hell, I'm looking at an insane leftist right now. At least when it comes to insane people on the right, they just tend to leave an angry comment and then leave me alone. But insane people on the left just have to keep making video after video on me.
Increasingly so. Could theoretically enjoy this movie, you know, and
Bro, not all of your opponents are right-wing. A lot of them are centrist. But people on the left, the right, and the center all seem to enjoy this movie.
Even on some sort of imagined political agreement here, like, hey, not all cops are bad people, which, by the way, is something that you as a left-wing person should agree with, because it is not...
In an alternate reality in the future, Y2K became a big YouTuber, and he got canceled for this take years later.
But then also because the way that police are trained instills constantly a sense of paranoia.
Yeah, this is America. A lot of people have guns. If a British police officer worked in the States, he wouldn't last a week. Yeah, I'm gonna be skipping a lot of what he says here because he just goes on and on about the police.
And to go see it and enjoyed it for one simple reason. It's because it was good. Just because a movie...
And there you go. That's all you need to say about this movie. Like, oh yeah, much has been made about this movie. I went and enjoyed it for one reason, and that's because the movie was good. There you go.
Well, that would be a really short review, and I think people would like me to explain why I thought it was good.
Easy and agreeable.
The movie has a small handful of woke moments in it, does not make it woke to me. I'm still going to enjoy Invincible despite Amber being in it. But what about the other movies?
Okay, I have some comments on that. Hold on. First of all, the entire movie is woke. Let's not kid ourselves here.
Actually, it isn't. Positive police representation is not woke. Keep in mind, your point was that the entire movie was woke. I just have to point to one thing that isn't woke.
I mean, we've established that this guy is politically incoherent and politically illiterate, but the whole fucking movie, I've explained why it's woke.
Yeah, and you did a phenomenally terrible job at it.
I had to use that term. First of all, because it has black characters, and as we know, woke is when black people.
If that's your definition for it, then fine, but it's not the bad kind of wokeness to me. Also, I don't think that's your definition, because you seem to change what your definition of wokeness is a lot.
But then also, like I said, because of all the political tones present about anarchism, leftism, and the role of the state in people's lives, and the kind of...
Ah, yes. Remember when the Spider-Verse movie went over the role of the state in people's lives? Because I sure don't. And aside from Toby Brown, no one else was an anarchist.
You know, fascism and militarism that...
Ah, yes, those two things that, weren't in the movie.
Certain artifices of the state subjects people to. Gay people also? Yes, that's right. Queer people also big presence in the movie.
Ah, yes, the Spider-Verse movie was all about what the state subjects people to, even though I have no idea what you mean by that or what you're talking about. But more importantly, where was the big presence of queer people in this movie? I don't remember any gay or lesbian moments from that movie, but then again, I only saw it once. Aside from Gwen having a flag in the background that said "Protect Trans Kids," which I will remind you, was in the background and only for a brief moment, there was nothing else LGBT in this movie.
Miguel certainly turned a fair few people gay from watching that movie, so that's pretty woke, I think.
Whoa, dude, that's extremely regressive of you. You're either born gay or you're not. You can't just become gay because one of the main characters is attractive. And by that logic, almost any superhero movie would be woke because, well, they're full of attractive people. This is one of the dumbest takes I've heard in a long time. The main character is attractive, therefore it woke.
Ultimately, the movie is woke, and you know, maybe not in the sense that, like, look, I don't know. I have a hard time engaging with the word woke, I'll be real, because it doesn't fucking mean anything.
Well, to a lot of people, the word actually means something. It clearly doesn't mean anything to you. I mean, you said it means black people, then you said it means women, and now you're saying it means attractive people? Like, buddy, if anyone's politics are incoherent, it's yours.
It means whatever right-wingers and the point they're trying to make assumes and needs it to mean.
I won't lie, that does happen a lot, but the left does it just as much.
Which is usually just that black people exist, so.
Ah, yes, now woke means that black people exist. Apparently the South was really woke because they were surrounded by black people. What?
I guess I'll just leave it at, the movie was good, we agree on that, and it was good because of the woke stuff, and not despite it, because, you know.
I don't think it was a good movie because of the wokeness, nor in spite of it. I think it was just a good movie. Aside from Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, yeah, it was good in spite of that. Oh, and by the way, I'm referring to her being pregnant and kicking ass, not her being black or a woman.
I have lost the plot as well. This guy's brain retardation has spread to me. This is a contagious disease. I do need medical help.
Autism is not contagious. It's a condition.
Have you seen my video for why allegories for discrimination don't work? Then I think you have a pretty good idea of what the big problem with this movie.
It does work, though. Oh, also, citing your own videos, definitely a great indication of somebody that should be taken seriously. No. I have not seen that video. I will never watch that video. Your point, therefore, is not made. You have to actually make it. El Bozo, you are wrong. I will not elaborate. Please show me data.
Well, you have not shown me data at all throughout this entire video, and I only linked that video if people want more information. I'm still gonna sum up my point, and I'm not just gonna repeat what I've said in past videos. I did that once before and Dire Gentleman complained about it. I'm doomed if I do, I'm doomed if I don't. But I love that I brought up an entire video all about why allegories for discrimination don't work, and he just says, huh? It does though. As if it's an argument.
Races, like white people needing more sunscreen and black people needing more conditioner, they're not as different as fire and water. Like in my allegories for discrimination video, I said if I was running a store, I would probably refuse service to a guy with fire powers who could burn it down. In this world, fire
probably
people
true,
also
honestly.
refuse service from some locations because they can burn things down. And this is not just a stereotype, we see it at multiple points in the movie. But the people who refuse them services are painted by the film as being unreasonable.
As you can see, I'm summing up my argument from that video, and he's agreeing with it. Guess your last statement about me was wrong.
I can't speak to that movie because I don't watch that movie. My entire life is not about Disney movies.
Yeah, but apparently your entire life is all about playing kids games, like Nintendo games, am I right? Buddy, when you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. Dire Gentleman did something similar. Oh, this guy talked about Masters of the Universe, therefore he only watched shows for children, while ignoring the fact that one of his most popular videos was on Centaur World.
It's entirely possible that that movie was a bad allegory for discrimination.
Well, it was a bad allegory for discrimination, which is what my video, Why Allegories for Discrimination Don't Work, was all about.
That actually went to justify that discrimination. Sometimes this happens and this backfires, where it's like they make groups of characters different enough that the discrimination would be justified, and then they say, but you still shouldn't discriminate against those people.
Yeah, it's really weird when they do that. I'm gonna be skipping another big section of this guy's video. He's basically just agreeing with me.
A company that produces a certain thing, that is looking for applicants for a certain role, and they hire a man over a woman who would have been more
Well, according to affirmative action, usually the opposite happens.
more qualified for that role. Let's say, you know, maybe this woman has a better resume or just as good a resume or something like that. But for some, like, internalized misogyny or whatever, they go with the male candidate. Especially, you know, this is the case in the gaming industry. This is a pretty big problem.
Wait, is the person doing the hiring a woman? You did say internalized misogyny after all. Do you know what internalized bigotry means? And I'm pretty sure this is not a big problem in the gaming industry. If you could show me some data, I would love to look over it.
A worse game will be made as a result of picking a less talented person.
Yeah, this is a very common right-wing talking point. A lot of them don't like affirmative action.
You know, it's very possible to make a sloppy and bad allegory for discrimination in a movie, or that as the premise for a movie.
Yes, I made a whole video about that. Thanks for telling me something I already knew.
But the fact that you could use something like allegory of discrimination as the premise for a movie is not itself a flaw.
Never said it was. The title of the video is a bit clickbaity. I go over allegories for discrimination that do work, like the stuff in Zootopia and Beastars. Okay, I'm skipping another big part of this video. He's basically just agreeing with me.
Agree that we should do what we can to get along with one another, but allowing those people inside certain places would completely destroy the economy. In the movie Zootopia, despite how different all the animals were to one another, the city's infrastructure still did its best to accommodate each and every single one of them.
Oh yeah, there we go. This is actually a good example of like a movie that does an allegory to like race politics in some ways.
In other words, your assumption that you made about me previously was wrong, once again.
But, you know, this is that same allegory that he was saying is, like, always drags down a movie, done well. So it's like this is an example of how that's not actually a correct thing to say, necessarily.
Oh my god, dude, are you just incapable of admitting when you're wrong? I never said, nor implied, it always drags down a movie. Just that there's many, many examples of it being done poorly.
It's a place that seems to make sense. In Elementals, there's literally a water train that goes over Firetown. But Jar, it's supposed to represent how they're not all treated as equal. Okay, factories that spew out toxic chemicals being near neighborhoods where black and brown people live is by no means no way near something like this.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, you know what? I'll eat my words on some of the stuff I had to say, like...
Oh, my god, finally. You finally admitted that you were wrong. Now please, next time I make a point, please let me finish it before you talk about it. Okay?
You know, factories near marginalized communities, like, are a fucking blight on society and shit like that.
Yeah, apparently I'm so cartoonishly racist that I don't want black people to ever be the lead in a movie. But I will also apparently talk about how black people live near chemical plants and stuff like that.
There's no real-world equivalent of a train just dumping acid on people. Apparently the guy who made this film no means no way near something like this.
This might argues against wokeness progressively. I think it's funny because some of the arguments he provides against wokeness are just arguments against progressivism.
Well, I guess that's my definition for wokeness or something. But for some reason you will still act like it's not throughout this entire video.
In a way more coherent fashion, just delivered like a 5-second argument about like how to correctly, like the correct kind of progressive themes to depict in a movie, you know?
No, that's... Oh, wait, hang on a second. He's starting to understand the video. Oh, I knew he could do it.
They're fundamentally contradictory positions, but I'll take a W where I can find it.
No! It is not a contradictory position to say, hey, this is how you do wokeness badly, and here's how you do it right.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, the whole, like, train driving by a marginalized community and just dumping acid. I think this was recorded before the East Palestine incident.
Those are not similar things. The train in Palestine wasn't doing that intentionally, but in Elementals, the train was intentionally dumping water onto the people who live in Firetown. Oh, and they were also intentionally doing that almost every single day.
Maybe? Because what he's describing about a train going by and dumping a bunch of chemicals on a, like, very, out-of-the-way community did happen.
I'm sure there was at least one point in history when a train accidentally dumped chemicals onto people, but I don't believe they were doing it intentionally, and I definitely don't think they were doing it almost every single day.
Wasn't like a racially marginalized community.
Okay, then it's not equivalent to what happened in the movie Elementals.
So, you know, he might have spoken too soon,
Black
I'm
and
not
brown
sure.
people live is by no means no way near something like this. There's no real world equivalent of a train just dumping acid on people.
Okay, yeah, this was, there is a real life equivalent. They theoretically, they didn't do it on purpose, but, like, they...
Then it has nothing to do with my point. Anyways, let's move on.
Whatever, this is a tangent, and I don't
The guy who
think
made
directly
this
relevant to the
film was
argument.
a Korean immigrant, and this was his passion project. It was something he was dreaming about making for a long time. and
Okay,
it was
look.
probably very close to his heart. But I still have to say that out of any
And here's the racism bit. Again, like...
Okay, dude, at this point, I'm not gonna give you the benefit of the doubt anymore. You are intentionally slandering me. Me bringing up the fact that the director of this movie was a Korean immigrant is not racism. If I said, oh, this movie was bad because it was made by a Korean or something, then yes, it would be racist. I brought this up because he based this movie off his own real-life experiences. Did you not hear me say, this movie was something very close to his heart? How the hell do you get racism from that?
Is it valid to critique the filmmaker of a certain movie? Yes, especially if the movie's not all that good.
I agree, so where's the racism?
Why do you bring up that, like, oh, he's a Korean immigrant? Like, that's the first thing he brought up, is like, this guy's a Korean immigrant.
Probably because he based a movie off of his real-life experiences coming to America. Just like how his family immigrated to America, the fire people immigrate to the elemental city. Also, by the off chance I had a problem with him being Korean. I think that would more so be xenophobia, not racism. Korean isn't a race, it's a nationality.
I feel like I'm just gonna say the same thing over and over again, but this guy, like, really just completely incoherent.
Or maybe you're just intentionally twisting what I say so you can make a point, which is something that your hero Vaush does quite often.
Because he made a good argument about, like, you know, what does racism actually look like here in a systemic sense? Like, if you wanted to make an allegory towards discrimination and racial politics in the modern world. But then he said, oh yeah, this Korean filmmaker made such a bad movie. Like, what the fuck?
I love how you completely changed how I worded that point. Yeah, if I worded it like that, that would be pretty xenophobic of me. But I didn't word it like that. And you know I didn't. But the way this guy is describing me makes me out to be like the weirdest racist of all time. Hey, black and brown people face pretty bad discrimination. Oh, and by the way, this movie sucks because it was made by a Korean.
allegory for discrimination that I have seen from anything. This is by far the absolute worst one. By far. Nothing else comes close. I want to make it clear that this is not a terrible movie, but it isn't really a good movie either.
Although it is possible, I should mention, not that it actually necessarily reflects on the guy that made this movie. The Korean, Korean American community is pretty damn racist.
Oh my god, he just immediately went to race for no reason. This guy is super racist for calling out racist people. In all seriousness, if I said something like this, he would have gotten his panties in a twist. So he goes on a long tangent about how Koreans are racist against black people or something. It has absolutely nothing to do with my video, but he decides to bring it up for no reason. Like, it's kind of funny that he says I bring up race for no reason, but now he's doing it himself. My point about the guy being a Korean immigrant actually had something to do with the movie. Him bringing up that Koreans are racist against black people has absolutely nothing to do with my video.
Pretty good at making sequels. Maybe make one.
They've
of
made
Megamind,
bad stuff, but they make
Rise
good
of the
stuff, too.
Guardians.
Okay, this has nothing to do with his video, but my point about how DreamWorks should make a Megamind 2 aged very, very poorly.
Or hell, maybe even ants. When I heard lines in the trailer like, the women in our family have the power to turn into Krakens. Really? Just the women, not the men as well? Or the love interest being black? I'm not gonna lie, I got a little nervous until I realized this was a Disney movie. Something like this from the House of Mouse would have filled me with fear.
Do I even need to address this? I feel like you already know what I'm going to say because I've said it several times. oh no, I saw a black character and got worried that the movie wasn't going to be good. That's just racism. That's just being racist.
Yeah, that would be racist, and I would get canceled up and down for it. But did you not hear the part I said afterwards? About how it would fill me with fear until I realized this wasn't a Disney movie. You know, Disney, the company that will hide black people on their Chinese posters. But what's really funny about this uncharitable interpretation of his is that it's so uncharitable that his chat starts calling him out for it. And then he starts gaslighting them so they will comply. You'll see what I mean in a minute.
But DreamWorks is a company that I have way more faith in.
Black people, so scared. Yeah, and like, look, I won't lie. There are some, there are movies that prominently feature black characters.
Oh, you mean like the Spider-Verse movies? 2 movies of which I recommended in my video?
That I saw and didn't think would be that good when they eventually came out.
Well, that's probably because you're a racist. In all seriousness, if I said something like this, well, he would have gotten his pantyhose in a twist.
Like the Little Mermaid movie, I saw and thought like this probably isn't going to be any good.
Huh? Is it because you think that a black woman shouldn't be the lead in a movie? You see how annoying that is, right? That's what you're like throughout this entire video.
The reason I thought that was not because I saw there was going to be a black main character, for fuck's sake.
But did you think that because it was a Disney movie? You know, like I did?
And then also, like, the fact that it was one of those live-action remakes that doesn't have a great track record of succeeding, and...
Yeah, and Disney decided to start making their live-action adaptations ethnically diverse, to use it as a shield from criticism.
I think we're a bit more charitable. He may just think that Disney treats black characters poorly. That is true. Disney does have a reputation of treating black characters poorly, but it's not the race of a character is not the determinative factor there.
If Disney has a track record of treating black characters poorly, then yes, the race is a determinative factor.
A movie that ends up being good that you initially treat with that skepticism because it has a black character and it turns out it was completely unfounded, you just look stupid and racist.
I love how he completely went off topic from the question someone asked him in his chat. But, buddy, my issue wasn't that there was a black guy in this movie. The issue was I thought this was a Disney movie at first, and then I realized, oh wait, it's not. Never mind, I feel okay now.
I think what we need to be taking away here is not just that Disney treats black characters poorly, but that Disney treats characters poorly.
Well, you have no evidence for this claim. I mean, they don't really hide non-black people from their Chinese posters. I guess they also take out gay scenes in their Chinese movies, but this guy doesn't bring that up.
Disney doesn't make that many good movies nowadays because they're a gigantic fucking too big to fail corporation.
No, it's because they're obsessed with getting their ESG score up so they keep getting funded by BlackRock. I did a whole video about this. If you want more information, go check that out.
He said he has more faith in the movie since Disney isn't making it and trusts the other companies to make better movie without with a black main character. Then he shouldn't have mentioned the fact that the main character is black because that's not relevant to his concern.
No, that is absolutely relevant to my concern because Disney hides black people on their Chinese posters. Just look at Finn. They made that guy into such a clown in The Last Jedi.
He should be concerned when he sees the Disney logo, not when he sees a black character. The fuck? But I do agree that, you're going to be skeptical of Disney. Be skeptical of Disney. They do some really, really bad shit.
I've debunked this point enough already. You're just dumb.
But there was nothing in the trailer that really caught my interest. It was another generic teenage story that we've heard dozens of times over. Now I'm sure if the love interest...
Then he should have led with that. The fuck? I'm not gonna get... I don't want to get too hung up on this.
People in your chat are trying to correct you because you're being an idiot, but you're just not listening to them.
Whether a movie is woke or not is not really the big issue here. A movie just...
Oh. Well, then we agree, I guess.
Well, I'm glad that we agree, just please don't slander me while you're agreeing with me. It's so weird. I see what the people in your chat are saying. Maybe I should have led with it, but I literally said it right afterwards. You heard what I said, you just ignored it.
Wokeness, it just had nothing to offer. And as for the flash bombing, well, I guess most DC movies haven't really been doing that well as of late.
That's true. That's more of a DC problem.
I have a whole video about
Also
this if you want
true.
more information.
Isn't it weird that he makes me into one of the most cartoonishly racist people ever and then agrees with me? I don't know, it just seems weird.
To make a long story short, Hollywood seems to have this insistence on working with this.
He makes the anti-woke content with a progressive lens? Yeah, it seems so. You know what? Honestly, honest to God, I think there's a place for this guy on the internet that's like really...
Yeah, when I think of people who look at things with a progressive lens, I think of the most cartoonishly racist people ever. Also, if I'm this cartoonishly racist, I'm surprised you think there's a place for me on the internet. Like, I think everyone is entitled to freedom of speech, but, people like you are not. So it's kind of weird that you think I'm this cartoonishly racist, but I still should be on the platform.
Let's be clear here. I do think this man is on some retard shit and that his political views are incoherent, right?
No, not right, wrong. You just misunderstand literally everything I say and call me slurs.
But is this like a slight towards his character necessarily? No.
You just called me retarded and then said it's not a slight towards my character? What? Like, imagine if I said, I think this guy's entire goal in life is to spread around monkeypox, but that's not a slight towards his character.
You know, even the stuff that he's saying that, like, is racist, I think that's just motivated from some general, like, internet era reactionism. I don't think this guy's actually that racist.
What? Bro, you make me seem like the most cartoonishly racist person ever. I live in Texas. I have met actual alright people. None of them are even half this racist. You think I believe that a movie just having a black guy in it fills me with fear? You think I believe that a black woman should never be the main lead in a movie? And you also think I believe that a movie sucks because a Korean made it. If you think I'm not that racist, then A, you were slandering me and you know you were lying. B, you live in a place that's full of a lot of racist people. Or C, you're actually pretty racist yourself, so someone like me is not that much more racist than you. If you guys seen my videos on Communist Creeper and Armored Skeptic, then you know I have been trying my best to be as charitable as I can with people. But no matter how hard I try, I cannot be charitable with this guy because, well, there's nothing to be charitable with. This guy might even be T-Moss boss levels of stupid.
No more than, like, your average person, which is to say, not very.
Bro, what nightmare world do you live in? Do you actually believe the average person is this racist? Okay, maybe this dude just thinks everyone is cartoonishly racist. Bro, most people don't think a movie sucks because an Asian guy made it. Most people aren't filled with fear because they see a black guy in a movie.
This could actually, videos like this could actually be used as a very useful tool to, like, get people who used to engage a lot with anti-SJW stuff to start thinking more critically about media.
Yeah, that's the point. I'm trying to get both people on the left and the right to think more critically. Thank you. You were actually charitable with me for once.
Because this guy, for all of the, like, random anti-SJW bullshit he said in the video, has introduced some genuinely, like, there's some nuggets of, like, god-tier arguments about what makes a movie good versus what doesn't.
He has fallen for my trap. He doesn't realize that I'm part of the alt-right pipeline. A few left-wingers will be more opened up to my content, and slowly over time, they'll drift more rightwards. Which is a conclusion he didn't come to because, well, he's one of the very few people who realized, well, pipelines can go both ways. So I'll give him a point for that one.
Probably why after watching him religiously, I managed to go more progressive than left or right-wing after that. Yeah, you know, maybe that is the case. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm being a little harsh.
No, you weren't being a little harsh. You were being extremely harsh.
Anti-woke, anti-SJW progressive who will argue against systemic discrimination, but occasionally says this movie's woke because it has a black character in it. I mean, I'll take it. You know what? Fuck it. You know.
Okay, so now this dude is starting to become a little bit more chill, but that's not the only definition for wokeness, buddy. Maybe, possibly, me and him can have a VC after this video goes up, and me and him can talk things out. Here's the thing, I don't want to destroy my opponents, because I believe at the core of every person is goodness. He's probably just been so blue-pilled that he sees things that aren't really there, and hears things that aren't really there. I mean, I've proven that he does that throughout this entire video, but maybe if he has a chance to see the light, he'll realize what he's doing isn't actually the right thing.
He's also a Bernie bro? My man.
I love that someone just told him something in the chat and he immediately believed it. Yeah, I can tell this guy is one of those people who just reads articles and immediately believes them. Bro, I'm only a Bernie bro because, well, I think it would be the greatest thing ever if he got elected. He wouldn't get a single policy passed.
But this is also not an example of get woke, go broke. Sure, Ezra Miller goes by they, them pronouns, and also sometimes uses woke talking points. But
Okay, we're back to retard shit. I don't know what he's talking about here.
everything
So because you don't understand my point, you call me a slur. Interesting.
else they do is not really woke. In fact, in some ways, I say it's the opposite. But now we're getting to the big one. Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Time.
Okay, my understanding of the Indiana Jones movie, they, them equals woke? Yes, and I am woke because I use any and all pronouns, the most woke.
Remember this point because it will be important when we get to the Transformers section of my video.
It's just the same shit we see with a lot of movies that get remade just because they were profitable the first time, so let's just keep, wringing that cash cow dry and stuff like that.
And now they're putting women and minorities front and center into these remakes to use it as a shield from criticism.
Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken.
I bet you're a bigger racist than just a robot, probably.
Well, the guy's not denying it, so I have to give him props for that.
If woke meant going broke, they wouldn't make woke movies. That's true!
It's almost like they're doing this to get their ESG score up. I go into detail about this in my BlackRock video, please go check it out.
Go woke, go broke has always been a bullshit talking point because woke movies that people call woke keep getting made.
And they keep bombing over and over and over again. Each Star Wars movie made less than the last one. The Marvels was the biggest flop in all of MCU history. Like, when there's a long-running franchise, the first woke movie isn't going to be a flop, but slowly over time, less and less people will trust them and go to see the movies less and less. Movies take a long time to make, so obviously they can't change course immediately.
So that's what's making the money.
Well, if we ignore the fact that these movies clearly make them lose money, then yes.
Because that's the only motivation that Hollywood executives, fucking ghouls that they are, have in mind. They have no respect for the actual art and talent that goes into making a film.
Bro, they obviously just make them so their ESG score will go up. It's almost like BreadTubers and anti-woke people should put their differences aside and hate on big corporations together.
There is a disingenuous level of progressivism that is occasionally present that you can't really get away with because people can kind of see through it. But,
it's almost like that's the entire reason why anti-woke channels exist or something.
Progressivism in movies, at least being able to not have your movie just be full of, crotchety old white guys and whatever, that does make money, and that's that pays off.
Well, the cast of the Lord of the Rings movies were completely white, and they made tons of money. Bro, I'm gonna be real here, I don't think non-white people being in movies has that much of an effect on the box office. It's not minorities being in movies that's the problem, it's cringy woke bullshit.
And so that's why the Hollywood executives are okay with it. A lot of those guys are fucking racist themselves.
Really? They are? It's almost like Disney takes black people off of their Chinese posters or something.
You can't really get away with a movie that's all white people anymore.
Oh, of course not. Your ESG score would plummet.
Because now there's black people go to the movies. Many such cases.
Okay, unfortunately his stream cut out so we couldn't hear the end of his wisdom. But dude, I think black people can see a movie even if the entire cast is white. There was only one white guy in Black Panther, but even if he wasn't there, I would have still gone to see the movie. To all the black people in my audience, how many of you enjoyed the Broly movie? Just asking.
How can he be anti-woke and a has-been hotel fan? Good point.
It's almost like you don't understand my problem with woke bullshit or something. Despite Has-Been Hotel having 10 times more LGBT representation than any woke show I've torn into, it doesn't feel like they're shoving their ideology down my throat. Don't get me wrong, Has-Been Hotel does have a few problems with it. Oh, angelic weapons hurt angels too? Wow, it's not like I had my own eye torn out with one or anything. But at the end of the day, Has-Been Hotel is still leaps and bounds above She-Hulk and Velma.
Has-Been Hotel is not just woke, it is incredibly horny. I know this because I I think I've seen some hell of a boss, and I think that's the same artist, and that person draws stuff incredibly horny.
Bro, I'm gonna be real here. I've never heard people refer to horny things as woke. Do you mean it was full of horny LGBT stuff? Because sure, plenty of people would call LGBT stuff woke, but not just plain old horny shit.
$1 million. But this movie had a budget of $300 million.
Oh,
Well,
Jesus.
Disney seems pretty confident
That's
in this
so
film.
bad.
And I'm sure out of the 4 films
No, they're not confident.
Indiana Jones is their second biggest Lucas IP. Star Wars didn't do so hot for them, so now they have to do Indiana Jones. Putting this much money into this movie means they're confident in it.
$300 million investment is not necessarily a badge of, like, artistic confidence. It's the whole, like, oh, this is one of our best intellectual properties, so we're going to invest a lot of money into it to make a lot of money, hopefully.
It sounds to me like they were confident in making their money back or something.
films I have talked about, the most woke won't end up being the most broke. I mean, Indiana Jones is a pretty big IP. Not as big as Spider-Man, but that...
Also, the original Indiana Jones is very woke.
What realm do you live in where the Indiana Jones trilogy was woke? It's a complete male power fantasy. In Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, all the villains were brown people. There is absolutely zero LGBT representation. And in the first and third movie, he's trying to find Christian artifacts. But Indiana Jones did have an Asian kid as a sidekick, so all the movies are woke by that logic. Please don't tell me you think it's woke because he fought against German soldiers from World War II. And I'm only guessing here because he doesn't elaborate on why the Indiana Jones movies are woke. He just goes on to talk about other stuff, so I'm gonna be skipping another big portion of his video.
Woke. Well, Disney made this movie, so what do you think? Yep, just like how now
maybe?
the Force is female, or how Willow is female for some reason. Indiana Jones is now also female-led. I really don't understand Kathleen
what?
Kennedy's strategy of taking a male-led franchise and, you know, making...
Oh, the Kathleen Kennedy strategy. Okay, Kathleen Kennedy gets a lot of shit because I don't think she's a very good writer on her own.
Well, she's not on her own. She's the head of Lucasfilm. She just keeps hiring the wrong people.
But the reason that she got shit for Star Wars The Last Jedi first is because she's a woman.
Oh my god, shut up, you soy boy. There are plenty of other women working in Hollywood. None of them get as much hate as her. Also, I want to make this clear. I didn't bring up her gender. You did. If I brought up her gender like you just did, oh, let's be honest here, you would have gotten your everything in a twist.
Many such cases. But then secondly is because for Star Wars, the Star Wars sequels, right? I've come around on those movies. I don't think they're that good.
Yes, we have converted him, everyone. We have made him join the good side. Yay, we did it.
Except for the Last Jedi, I will defend as being a good movie and actually, like, worth engaging with.
Oh no, he's one of the Last Jedi defenders. Now, I have 2 videos about this, so just go check those out. And before he says, oh, well, you didn't make your point, well, neither did you, dipshit. There's already a 3-hour-long video on my channel as to why The Last Jedi sucks. I'm not making this video on you an extra 3 hours longer.
One of the things that really sunk that trilogy was the fact that it wasn't just Kathleen Kennedy writing things. It was like a committee. There was like a committee of writers. They almost handled it like it was corporate decision making.
Yeah, it's almost like they were more focused on making it woke to get their ESG score up than making an actual good trilogy.
In writing those movies. And that's why so many things were either just plain bad or did not age well upon, like, second and third viewings. It was like
completely full of woke garbage. I have over 12 hours of content all about what Disney did to Star Wars.
But yeah.
Character,
whoa,
making
hold
a
on.
male-led franchise and, you know,
Might be.
making a Mary Sue the main character. Like, do you think in an alternate dimension there...
Making a Mary Sue the main character. You mean a woman?
Bro, even you have to know that was a dumb point on your end. No one, and I mean no one's definition of a Mary Sue is a woman. I have multiple videos about Mary Sues. Never once did I say a Mary Sue is just a woman and nothing else.
That The Force Awakens wasn't like as good as New Hope or whatever is not the Mary Sue stuff, believe it or not. Luke is a Mary Sue. He's a Mark Sue or like whatever the fuck.
The term you're looking for is Gary Stew. I also have videos on Gary Stews as well, by the way. And is Luke a Gary Stew by your definition? Well, yes, because your definition of a Mary Sue is apparently a woman, so the definition for Gary Stew would just be a man. But in all seriousness, there's different levels to Gary Stews and Mary Sues. But if you think Luke is a Gary Stew, then you for sure have to call Rey a Mary Sue. Luke gets his ass kicked by a sand person. Rey takes on 2 guys by herself. Luke loses a hand, Rey doesn't. Luke has to train to get stronger, Rey doesn't. Rey can heal people and use lightning, Luke can't. Luke can only fly an X-Wing well because he flew a Skyhopper. But Rey can steer a ship in crazy weather despite growing up on a desert planet. I could go on, but I think you get the idea.
Justifying ground for Rey to be able to do the things that she does. How does she know mechanics so well? Oh, well, she's a scavenger. She had to do that to survive.
Bro, there are no justifying grounds for Rey being able to do the things she does, and you know that's a lie. The one example you have is, oh, she knows about mechanics because she was a scavenger. Bro, you don't need to know how to fix things in order to be a scavenger. I'm not a mechanic, and I know that the catalytic converter has some precious metals in it. You can easily rip out someone's catalytic converter without knowing the mechanics as to how it exactly works.
And, you know, she's coming from pretty dire circumstances and whatever.
Well, a lot of characters from Star Wars came from much dire situations than hers, and they're not even half as powerful as she is.
Is it possible to write characters like that poorly? Yeah, sure it is.
Yeah, and Rey is the most perfect example as to how it can be written poorly.
Because the label gets thrown around so flippantly by anti-SJW types, I would appreciate an explanation of like what he means in this instance.
Well, I definitely don't mean just a woman and nothing else. I have a whole playlist about Gary Stews and Mary Sues. Please go watch them. This video is already long enough. I'm not going to repeat what I've said previously just because you're too lazy to click on a link.
There's a guy named Carl Kennedy who's running a whole bunch of girl-led shows, and in each and every single one of them, he's making a brunette British man the main character. And by the way, each of these new male main characters are better at everything than everyone else. As if it wasn't enough for Harrison Ford's character Han Solo to play second fiddle to a woman.
Hey Han, I know this is your
Well, hold on a second. That's just fucking like... That's just fucking 1960s ass sexism.
Ah, finally. After all this time. Someone finally called me sexist. Like, I love that I can make 50 videos bashing on women and people are just like, what's your problem with black people? Huh? I love that I gave an example of how to do a male character poorly, but then once I went back to talk about a woman, he was like, this guy is sexist. But let's hear his arguments as to how I'm being sexist.
Damn, I can't believe they made a man play second fiddle to a woman. Like, what?
Well, there are plenty of movies in this video you're covering right now where I didn't complain about a man playing second fiddle to a woman. This ship is the Millennium Falcon. It's Han Solo's domain. He didn't play second fiddle to Luke when they were on it, but once Rey came aboard, she knew way more about it than he did. Which is another example as to how Rey is more of a Mary Sue than Luke Skywalker.
Dude, I was even ready to agree that, like... Yeah, okay, you know, if they introduce a bunch of characters that are sort of unexplained, like, good at all this shit, or like, you know, they violate a lot of character building tropes and trends and whatever, then, like, yeah, that's not good. But then he's like, and they had to ruin it by putting a woman in charge. Like, what the fuck?
Not just a woman, buddy, a Mary Sue. Get it right.
Been on for years, but I just fixed a problem with it.
I'm dead.
I bypassed the compressor my first day flying on it, or any ship for that matter.
Oh man, you're so brilliant.
Also, it's implied that, like, Han also knows that, but, like, it just took a little bit longer to figure it out.
No, it was never implied. You completely made that up. And even if you're somehow right, it still proves that she knew more about it than him. Keep in mind, this was the first time she's ever been on a ship.
I think they explain in the movie that, like, oh yeah, somebody else installed this thing.
Well, I guess it is. I mean, he didn't exactly build the ship himself. What are you talking about? But even then, how would she know to do this?
It wasn't there before. Somebody else put it on here, and then Rey just, like, ripped it out.
Which was very stupid of her. Bypassing the compressor on a one-of-a-kind ship could have made the whole thing explode.
What'd you do?
I bypassed the compressor.
Keep Keep in mind, she mostly scavenged the Star Destroyer. She's never scavenged a Millennium Falcon before. Something that's not very important on a big ship is critical on a small ship.
Brilliant and smart, want a job? You're nothing like that one whiny farm boy I met on another desert planet, but not the same desert planet.
They also had to do it to Harrison Ford's most beloved character. Now, I'm not gonna go over...
Now, hold on. I don't think you can fairly make the argument that Harrison Ford was more beloved as Indy than as fucking Han Solo in Star Wars. I think this is, you know, one of those IPs is a bit more popular.
Yeah, and Indiana Jones is the main character and Han Solo isn't. Okay, I guess he was the main character in Solo, but Harrison Ford wasn't playing him in that movie. And honestly, I think that movie made Solo less of a beloved character.
This is actually, I think The Force Awakens is actually not a great example of the Mary Sue tropes, because it's kind of explained why Rey is good at the things that she's good at.
Actually, it isn't. You gave one example and I easily debunked it.
And this is also, like, this is just her being quicker than Han, not necessarily being smarter. You know, he doesn't think of this, but, like, I'm sure if he had the time, he might have been able to see, like, oh, yeah, because he knows the ship, but ultimately it hasn't been in his hands for a while, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been in his hands for a while, but it's never been in her hands. And also, this is such a nitpick of my point. Oh, she wasn't being smarter than Han, she was just being quicker than him. And you don't even know if he would have figured that out. You just made that up. If you can answer a problem faster than someone else, you're probably smarter than them.
This scenario that everybody keeps picking apart makes sense in context.
Well, if we ignore the context, then yes, it does make sense in context.
There are valid examples to this. This guy literally mentioned one earlier. It was like, oh yeah, they introduce a bunch of, like, unexplained male characters, like, you know, this British male characters or whatever, that are just better at everything than everybody else.
No, that wasn't something that actually happened. That was a hypothetical example I made up. Like, I know you thought it was a good example because you love making things up, but, everyone else knew I was making a hypothetical example.
You've been on for years, but I just fixed a problem with it. I bypassed the compressor my first day flying on it, or any ship for that matter.
Oh man, you're so brilliant and smart, want a job? You're nothing like that one whiny farm boy I met on another desert planet, but not the same desert planet.
They also had...
By the way, this is him, like, fantasizing about some fucking imagined cuckoldry.
Did I accidentally stumble into an alternate dimension where Y2K is right-wing? Calling your opponent a cuck is more of a right-wing thing, but, let's hear his argument for this.
Everybody who's a reactionary is like this, right?
No, wrong. Please stop saying right at the end of all your points. You're not Cenk Uygur. Please stop acting like him. After all, you might end up with a nephew like Hassan Piker. I don't think I, nor any other quote-unquote reactionary I know, fantasizes about their wife or girlfriend sleeping with another man while they watch. The only one who I can think of who's done that is Sneeko. But let's be honest here, we all knew he was a grifter from the start.
Oh, you're so much better than this other guy that's like a stand-in for the viewer or whatever.
I mean, art is subjective, so you can look at Luke Skywalker as the stand-in for the viewer. I personally don't, but if you do, I guess that's okay. But Rey is definitely more of a blank slate than Luke.
This is fucking cuck fetish shit.
How? How is it cuck fetish shit?
Because that interaction doesn't happen, it never happened.
Oh, well, yes, you are right about that. I did slightly exaggerate things, but, Han Solo did offer Rey a job right after he met her, and he has never done that with Luke, Leia, or any other character. He treated Luke Skywalker like a whiny boy because he was, but he didn't treat Rey like that. So apparently, if you slightly exaggerate a scene, you're secretly a cuck or something.
And to my knowledge, it never will happen in Star Wars, because that's not the kind of, like, character conflict that typically exists in that story.
That's not the type of character conflict that exists in Star Wars? Bro, it's filled to the brink with Mary Sue's.
I need an item box. I need it so badly. There we go.
And no, he doesn't just fight these guys in a flashback. He's also fighting them again in 1969. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wasn't America's enemy communist at the time? Well, the answer is yes. And they were also his enemy in Indiana Jones 4.
Well, now hold on. Hold on a second. I think the he's about to bring up the critique of, like, why is he fighting Nazis in the 60s? On the surface, that's might be a valid critique and whatever, right? Nazis were a wartime enemy in the 40s.
Yes, my critique is completely valid. Anyways, want to move on?
That doesn't mean that Nazism went away. We're seeing right now, we're having a resurgence of Nazism in the United States and in other countries as well.
People like you use that word extremely broadly, so I have no idea what you mean by this. I mean, you literally described it as people believing that you have to do bad in order to do good, which is just about every political side.
After the war. In fact, there was there's a whole controversy about Operation Paperclip, where the US recruited German scientists, many of whom were Nazis.
Yeah, but they didn't really do anything bad to America while they were working there. And do you know who we were fighting against during the space race? The communists! That's kind of the whole reason why the space race began. Also, I decided to look into this, and surprise, surprise, the ex-German World War II soldiers didn't do anything wrong. Probably because they were being watched extremely closely.
But because communism is considered woke nowadays, we need to have
No, I don't think that's why. I don't think that's why they did that. I think Nazism is a much easier enemy because...
Because they weren't our enemy at the time? Is that the reason why they're a much easier enemy to fight against?
Frankly, the Nazi atrocities have always been much more visceral than communist atrocities, like from the USSR and whatever. Even if the USSR and China...
Bro, considering what Russia is doing to Ukraine, this would be the perfect time to have the Russians be the bad guy in a movie. I'm not here to argue which one was worse, I'm just saying that the communists were our enemy at the time.
Have a much higher body count, but they weren't active wartime enemies of the United States, so that kind of propagandism doesn't work with those, usually.
That's nice and all, but it doesn't debunk anything I said. Communists were still our enemy during this time. And I have no idea why you're bringing up China, because I didn't.
And a lot of times when people do movies like that where China and Russia are the bad guys, they dribble into, just straight-up racist territory.
By the way, he has no examples for this. I've never seen a movie being racist towards Russians. But, aren't Russians white? Dude, do me a favor, look up what racism is, and then look up what xenophobia is.
Where it's like, oh yeah, all Russians actually are like this, or all Chinese people are actually like this, which is a much more sensitive subject than saying all Germans are like this, because Germans are white people and virtually indistinguishable from...
Virtually indistinguishable from Russians? Bro, last I checked, Russians were white! And just so you know, there was a lot of American propaganda during World War II that was pretty racist towards Japanese people. Are you implying that a modern-day movie would be racist towards Chinese people? Do you know how big the Chinese market is? And isn't your site always going on and on about Russian hackers? Why wouldn't you want Russians to be the bad guys? Also, I'm pretty sure saying all Germans are like this is a pretty xenophobic thing to say.
The reason that they didn't go with communists is probably because it was a harder narrative to write and justify.
It's actually not hard to justify. Here's all you have to write. They were our enemy during the space race, and you're done.
As them being, the objective villains than with Nazis.
During this time period in America, they were the objective villains. The German soldiers from World War II were already defeated.
In fact, if ever there was a time to do that, it would have been with the original Indiana Jones movie. That came out in the 1970s.
Yeah, but it took place during World War II. Are you okay?
A lot of the people who make a lot of their politics about being anti-communist, the people who advertise constantly or who will fixate on that as a central political message, are themselves usually Nazis or some stripe of fascist.
Well, you use that word super broadly, so I assume so. I swear the modern day definition for fascist is person who disagrees with me, and the modern day definition for socialist is person who agrees with me. Most people who I know who are anti-communist just think it's a stupid economic system and it will never work. Now, I personally am not going to share my opinions on communism because, again, I'm not an economics YouTuber.
Because the thing that they hate isn't necessarily the thing that they hate is not the atrocities of the USSR or whatever.
Really? Because I've heard many anti-communist channels bring those up.
They just hate that the USSR A wasn't doing that to the Jews, and B, they also hate that
well, I've never heard an anti-communist ever bring that up, and the communist did do that to a few Jews. Karl Marx himself was pretty anti-Semitic.
they hate that there's like a sort of left-wing idealism that involves including people.
Okay, whatever you say, buddy. But, communism doesn't have to be inclusive. I hate to break it to you, buddy, but, neither Russia nor China are nearly as diverse as America.
They hate the good things about communism. They don't hate the bad things that all the communist countries have done.
That is the weirdest straw man I have heard in a very long time. I haven't seen every anti-communist channel, but I'm pretty sure they all bring up the bad things that communist countries have done. Bro, you need a citation for this claim. Go get it!
They just wish that they were the ones doing it.
Yes, all anti-communist channels are just jealous. They think it's an evil, horrible ideology, and they wish they were the ones who could have done those horrible things. Imagine the level of brain rot from wokeness you would have to receive to say something like this.
Again, with the sort of cuck fetishism.
What? So, let me get this straight. Anti-communists hate communism because they're jealous of the things they have done and they want to do those horrible things themselves, and that's because they have a cuckolding fetish. Yeah, I think this guy might be ideologically possessed.
Nazis hyperfixate on communism because communist states have cucked them out of being able to commit mass atrocities on a larger scale.
Barely. Russia was like the only communist country during those times. I think they were more so focused on the Jews than communist. I mean, after all, communism was a pretty new idea.
Indiana Jones keep bashing the fish.
Indiana Jones is currently depressed.
Also, yeah, I'm not gonna get upset. By the way, this guy, like, if you step back and look at what this guy is saying or think about it, it is really weird that he's upset that fascists are the bad guy in a movie.
Yes, because the movie takes place in the wrong time period. Remember, everyone, this guy doesn't think I'm that racist, but he thinks I'm upset when literal German soldiers from World War II are the bad guys.
Would you rather fascists be not the bad guy? Like, if you're gonna have fascists in your movie, right?
If I was going to have them in a movie, I would have them in the movie if it was the correct time period. And if it was the correct time period, then yes, I would have them be the bad guy. How does this very simple line of logic fly over your head?
Why? Because his son is dead. Wait, what? And his wife has divorced him as well. But
I'm going to skip this part because I don't trust him to accurately summarize a movie that he doesn't like.
No, actually, I've been accurately summarizing movies this entire time. You, on the other hand, have been making up scenes and twisting what I say.
Why no one wasted time on Indiana Jones 5? Probably because it was bad. And this guy says, actually because it was woke and bad. But, you know.
Yes, and it was partly bad because of the wokeness. Please don't talk about a movie you haven't seen.
Because, you know, I don't know if this guy realizes it. Maybe he would if you sat him down and talked to him about it for an extended period of time. But ultimately, the profit motive is what's sinking the movie industry right now.
No, they're actually more focused on ESG scores, so BlackRock will keep funding them. This is very basic stuff. I'm going to be skipping another large segment of this guy's video because I'm just repeating myself or he's just agreeing with me. And I also already want to be done with this video already.
Where one of the Transformers identified as non-binary. Bro,
Okay.
You're a robot just like me. You're nothing but a binary. But then again, considering Transformers are alien robots,
That's pretty good, I guess.
Have a quantum computer inside of them, which would make them non-binary, but I highly doubt it. Now, personally, I'm one of those guys.
I don't know if he's shitposting. I'll see this through to see if he's shitposting, but if he's not, I have some thoughts.
Who doesn't believe there's an infinite amount of genders? Hell, I don't believe in more than 2.
Okay, this is retard shit.
I love that he says he'll let my point play and then he pauses the video right before I get to the punchline. Like, dude, do you not hear the voice I'm doing? I think it's pretty clear that I'm shitposting. Also, please stop calling me slurs, you British cigarette.
He is not shitposting, and in fact, this is retard shit. Robots do not have gender, thank you.
Obviously, I made a joke, and you laughed at my joke. If you're a robot, you're nothing but a binary. And then I said afterwards that if they had quantum computers inside of them, then they would be non-binary. And also, robots do have genders. I identify as a male, for example. God, this guy is so robophobic. I bet he's gonna call me a bucket of bolts or something.
We don't know what kind of gender concept they have on Robot World, Transformers World.
I haven't been to that planet, but my cousin Sunny has, and apparently a lot of them are trans, and that's why they're called Transformers.
Non-binary just means not man or woman, which, I mean, a robot isn't, so I guess.
Whoa, buddy, you're being very transformer-phobic right now. They can be whatever gender they want to identify with. And by the way, you don't have to tell me what non-binary means. Everyone knows what it means. You're not smart for knowing common knowledge.
Also, we made that shit up. We made up gender. We could fucking create infinite genders if we wanted to.
Oh yeah, the Transformers believe that too. One of their genders is Apache.
How do you know that I'm a man?
Wait, you're a man?
The reason that you would know that I'm a man, to assume it to look at me.
Well, looking at you doesn't make me immediately assume you're a man. You look very, very feminine. You look like the gay love child of Hero from Dragon Quest and Severus Snape.
Is not because I'm going to pull down my pants and show my dick on camera. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, you would be banned on Twitch if you did that, but I thought having a dick doesn't prove you're a man anymore. Like, I'm so confused as to what this guy actually believes.
The reason that you can tell I'm a guy is because I have a deep voice, is because I have more gruff facial features for lack of skincare, most likely.
Okay, so for having a deep voice and rough facial features, which you don't have, makes you a man. Okay. Like, I know this guy is trying to make the argument about there being infinite genders, but, so far he seems to be arguing in the opposite direction.
Because I wear more masculine clothing and behave masculine.
You're wearing a gender-neutral t-shirt, and you have not acted masculine at all throughout this entire video.
It's ultimately all in the behavior.
Oh, okay, so gender is determined by behavior. So I guess there's no need for anyone to get sexual reassignment surgery. And somehow this argument from him proves that there's an infinite amount of genders or something. Now I want to make this clear. I'm not here to argue against or in favor for the concept of infinite genders. I'm just here to tell you that what this guy is saying is complete gobbledygook.
Divide between who is a man and who is a woman is not like a biologically essentialist thing.
If it isn't, then why do people take hormone pills? Bro, on average, men have more gray matter in their brains. Women have more white matter in their brains. And more often than not, you can tell if someone is trans just through scanning the amount of brain matter in their brains. If there's a human who has a penis but more white matter in their brain, then they will probably feel like they're a woman trapped in a man's body.
There's way better videos for me to, like, point to that could explain this a lot better.
Please do, buddy, because you're completely failing at it. You said that you were going to prove that there's an infinite amount of genders, and then you proceeded to argue against the existence of trans people. Like, what the hell?
I think it's cringe enough that he's, like, going for 2017 era, there are only two genders talking points.
Wait a second. I thought it was 2016, not 2017.
Because, like, sure, we'll see how well that treats you at the gay bar.
Well, I'm not gay, so I'm not going. And if I was gay, I don't think I would find an AFAB attractive just because they said, hey, I go by he, him, and I have a vagina. Because in this hypothetical scenario, I'm gay. I want cock.
When like half the people there are trans and probably a quarter of them are non-binary.
Oh, Tyrone, you're so sexy. Oh, yeah, Jar, you're also sexy. By the way, I go by they, them. Ew! No, I'm gay. I'm not into any of these mystical third genders. Has any gay guy ever done that? And I don't know about you guys, but from what I've seen, there's way, way, way more gay and lesbian people than trans people. I don't think a significant amount of people at gay bars are trans. And as for non-binary people, that's not really a turnoff for most people. A lot of people who believe in only two genders will still date people who go by non-binary pronouns.
Yeah, Republicans are pretty insane. A lot of conservatives in a lot of different countries, for some reason, are very, very concerned with what is inside the pants of underage children.
Oh my god. Isn't it funny that conservatives literally say the exact same thing about people in the LGBT community? Man, dude, I love horseshoe theory.
And that is how committed they are to making sure that there are only two genders and that kids aren't being groomed. We will literally subject you to mandatory dick inspection.
Oh, really? That happens? Well, I've certainly never heard of it. Most conservatives I know just look at a little boy and say, yep, that's a little boy. And then they look at a little girl and say, yep, that's a little girl. I don't think they need to, pull down their pants and see their genitals. But if you have a citation for this claim, I would love to see it and look through it.
In fact,
pretty cringe.
I don't even believe in two. I only believe there's one gender. It's either nerf or nothing. But
Okay, maybe he was shitposting, in which case that may have been a little bit too harsh.
Yep, all that time, all of those points he made was for something I didn't even say. Bro, you should do this awesome radical new thing called letting someone's point play in its entirety before you respond to it.
This could also be like him just doing the whole ambiguous post about whether he actually believes something or not. That's possible.
I love that he's trying his best to be uncharitable with me, but he can't find anything to use. Buddy, the fact is, you were wrong about me. Just apologize for it.
I don't know what he actually believes. I don't know if he knows what he actually believes.
I know what I believe. It's pretty simple. You just keep taking me out of context.
The movie. Yeah, I saw someone using this clip from the cartoon to say that the movie was woke for some reason. Like, first of all, buddy, those are two different things. Sure, I guess you could say they're somewhat related, but that's about it. If we were getting a new live-action He-Man movie, I wouldn't bash on it for being woke because things happened in the Netflix show Masters of the Universe Revelations. Also,
He-Man is a woke as fuck character. You have any idea how gay that man looks?
What do you mean by that? Buddy, gay people don't have to look a certain way. You're really bigoted. In all seriousness, yeah, he looks really gay. He's from the 80s. But as far as I'm aware, no version of He-Man actually has been gay so far.
If you had an anti-woke He-Man, he wouldn't be He-Man. He has to be like turbo gay.
Oh, now people who look gay are woke. Okay. And also, no version of He-Man has ever been gay, so I guess they're all anti-woke.
So if one brief scene about non-binary pronouns is enough for you to scream out, woke, woke.
True, he literally has the pronouns in his name.
Oh my god, a cis man goes by he, him pronouns? Oh my god, that's the wokest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's too woke for me. Then you're in for a rude awakening, buddy. Like if I had a woke scale going from 1 to 10, with a 10 being that Velma show, a 9 being She-Hulk, a
By the way, that show was like basically nothing. That show was written apparently by like weird TERFs.
I've done a video reviewing the entire show. There was nothing transphobic in that show, so I don't know what you're talking about. Or maybe you're just making stuff up again. Yeah, you're probably doing that.
Like, transphobes?
Yes, TERFs tend to be transphobes, but there was nothing transphobic in that show.
It was some second wave bullshit that, like, nobody liked. It basically only existed for outrage bait.
Bro, that show was by no means just second wave feminism. And it was not created for outrage bait. It was just a logical conclusion for wokeness to go.
Also, I agree She-Hulk probably, like, wasn't all that good. I haven't watched it, not going to watch it. I have no interest in it. They did my boy Hulk dirty, and that's what I care about.
Oh, I see. So you're upset that a man played second fiddle to a woman. But in all seriousness, I agree with you, buddy. Welcome to the anti-woke side. Here's a video about why Hulk is the most mistreated superhero in the MCU. I think you'll enjoy it.
5 being a normal movie like, I don't know, Star Wars A New Hope, a 3 being Gone with the Wind, and a 1 being something like, Birth of a Nation. Then I would put a brief scene talking about non-binary pronouns at a 5.2. I saw a few other people call—
Yeah, he just says what and continues to play my video. Remember when he said that I believe that they, them pronouns are the wokest thing ever? Well, this completely debunked that point of his, but he's just gonna ignore it and continue the video like nothing ever happened.
Calling this movie woke because it had brown people as the main characters. Apparently there's a line from one of the characters saying that he steals because he doesn't like capitalism. And apparently near the start there's a black person going in for a job interview and his family tells him to laugh at the white people's jokes so he's more likely to get a job. Really? That's it? Brown people—
Wait, okay.
Oh my god, is this finally the moment when he realizes he's been slandering me throughout this entire video?
All the things that he listed there, first of all, I think what he's doing here is he's agreeing that, like, those things make for a good story, and they're, like, very...
No, I never said nor implied that. Granted, I don't think it makes for a bad story, but I don't really think it makes for a good story either. And I don't even think you can explain why. Hopefully, this is the moment when he finally realizes that he's been slandering me this entire time.
Immersive and don't, like, break the experience or whatever. Those are also all very woke things. Like,
please don't tell me you're one of those guys who have an extremely black and white mentality. But your takeaway from this is that all those times you try to paint me as cartoonishly racist and sexist, you were wrong, and you should apologize for them.
Yeah, I guess this is an example of this guy, you know, the intersection of this guy's progressive politics and his anti-woke politics, is that in his mind, more than anything, woke equals bad.
Yes, but they're not the bad kind of woke.
And if something is progressive and it's good, well, then that means it can't be woke, because woke is only when something's bad.
No, there's just the good kind of wokeness and the bad kind of wokeness. Granted, normally when I call something woke, I mean it in the bad way, but the point is, you just keep missing what my point is over and over and over again, and it's so frustrating.
Character not liking capitalism and one very mildly racist joke towards white people. Like, holy shit, dude, right-wing SJW.
Yeah, this guy is capitalizing on anti-woke content while himself being woke.
Or I'm trying to point out when wokeness is okay and when it goes too far.
You know what I think? What I think he's, in some way, he's reaching for, if I ever, like, agreed with one of his criticisms of, like, wokeness, would be liberalism. That's probably the most common point of agreement that we would have, is that liberals don't have any fundamental interest in solving systemic issues.
Okay, you know what? He's starting to get it, and at this point, I'll just take what I can get.
And they'll be like, oh, racism is bad, but also we shouldn't do anything to fundamentally change the systems that perpetuate racism.
Or they could be fighting against racism in a very stupid way that actually makes things worse. This is one of the main things that I really hate about liberals. Let me give you an example. Oh, golly gee willikers, there's a dragon burning down villages. We should send knights out there to stop them. And then I come in and say, the armor the knights are wearing are made of metal. The dragon's fire will melt it. Maybe we should send archers or something else to kill the dragons. And then the liberal turns to me and says, what? Do you actually support dragons burning down villages? What's wrong with you?
When he thinks woke, he just thinks of the screeching Gamergate feminist. That probably is what he thinks of.
Partially. You're starting to get on the right track.
Like, at the end of the day, you make all the racist jokes about white people you want. Fuck it. You know, white people are still the dominant racial power group. You know, it's like...
will jokes about non-white people make them have less power or something?
If anything, those kind of jokes only hurt, like, minorities, if anything.
Wait a second, racist jokes about white people hurt minorities more? Racist joke about a white person is made, black people most affected.
Because, like, it would just reinforce that divide, and that divide is less detrimental, or least detrimental, I should say, to white people, which is why I think everybody should eventually be comfortable with making racist jokes about everybody, but we're not there yet, so.
Okay, for the most part, I had no idea what you were saying, except for the ending part, but I think we are there already. If everybody's making fun of everybody, well, then it makes people even more equal.
Also, there is a bar there. It has to be a good joke.
Huh, well that bar shouldn't be too hard to jump over. Almost all racist jokes are funny.
And a lot of people who like making racist jokes about racial minorities are fucking incapable of making a good joke, because for them the joke is just, haha, I love racism.
That's not the reason why the majority of people make racist jokes, you stupid SJW. God, I haven't used that term in so long, but this guy absolutely deserves it.
Issue I have with the
that's
term
actually
woke go broke
a good
is how
joke.
people on the far right will use it to describe any movie
Ah.
that has even a little shred of wokeness in it.
Now you're speaking my language. Fuck the far
Don't pander
right.
to the 5% of the people who are on the far left, and don't immediately go in the complete opposite direction and pander to the 5% of people who are on the far right. Aim for the 90% who are in the middle. Sure, according to
Enlightened centrism.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Is he finally understanding where I'm coming from? Will he stop slandering me finally?
You can make your film to appeal to whoever you want. There's material circumstances to keep in mind. And that might be what he's missing here, is that, like, at the end of the day, this stuff is not dictated by, like, who should we appeal to for X, Y, or Z moral reasons, but it's more so just a game of marketing.
Yep, and ESG scores affect that marketing.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse really fucking appeals to people on the far left. Like, if you consider anarchists and socialists as constituent parts of the far left,
there was nothing socialist in that movie, and there was only one character who was an anarchist. You do not know what you're talking about, shut up.
But if you make some Nazi shit, then you've made Nazi shit, and that's usually not good.
It's almost like I said, don't pander to the 5% of the people who are on the far right or something.
You know, funny enough, wouldn't you know it, appealing to Nazi shit is a lot more detrimental to a widely appealing marketing project than appealing to anarchism and you know, socialists.
And it's even more profitable to make a movie that panders to, you know, normal people.
Ruby Gillman didn't bomb because it was
This guy also sees no problem with Sound of Freedom, and that is a retarded take.
Oh boy, he had a problem with the movie Sound of Freedom. Let's hear his argument as to why.
I've heard mixed things about Sound of Freedom as a movie itself.
Oh, so you're talking about a movie you haven't seen. Interesting.
But ultimately, I think the biggest problem with it is the way that it portrays child trafficking as some sort of, like, thing that you have to go and heroically fix. It, like...
Yes, people who are equipped to handle it should heroically stop it. Like, you know the movie was based on a true story, right? At no point did the movie say, oh, a regular Joe Smo should go and stop it.
Wanton desires of the bourgeoisie and the people in power and whatever. And that this fucking, like, QAnon adjacent guy has any role in fixing it.
There were no QAnon talking points throughout the entire movie. It had nothing to do with adrenochrome or anything.
There have been a number of, like, human rights orgs who try to combat human trafficking as it now exists, that are, like, saying, yeah, QAnoners make our job way the fuck harder, because they just call everybody a child predator and shit.
Wow, yeah, it's really bad that they do that. I mean, I sure hope you don't say something very similar just a few minutes later. Like, oh, I don't know, claiming the third biggest party in America is full of child predators. Because if you did something like that, that would make you look really, really dumb.
By legalizing it. Yeah, true. I was gonna say, yeah, he will solve the child trafficking problem by simply becoming the CEO of child trafficking. Every libertarian is like this.
Oh my god, I was joking. I totally didn't expect you to suddenly say this. Okay, dude, in all seriousness, do you see the hypocrisy of what you said about QAnon and then what you said about every libertarian secretly wanting to be the CEO of child trafficking? And by the way, these two clips are like a minute apart from one another. This guy really is T-Moss boss levels of stupid. He complains about something and then he does it himself.
Not a good crowd to be hanging around in.
It was a little woke, but it more so bombed because, just like Ruby Gillman, it was an average...
Elementals bombed because fucking... I think it just, like, had no substance behind it or something. Look, there's a lot of reasons.
Oh, so you're saying it bombed for the same reason I did. It had nothing to offer.
Ultimately, I think the sloppy allegory that he pointed out earlier was the biggest reason that the movie bombed. Because, like, it is reasonable to watch a movie like that and come away thinking that the message of that movie is that racism is fundamentally okay. That's probably why the movie bombed, is because of, like, you don't want to say that in your movie.
Wow, it's almost like the people who made this movie tried to be progressive, but completely failed at it, which is one of my definitions for wokeness.
Some normie shit like that. I think if anything, if nothing else, this guy has established that he's basically just a normie more than anything.
Dude, you can't even understand what my politics are. I don't think I'm a normie by your definition. Alright, time to skip another big section of his video.
Well, Marvel got more and more woke, and the movies made less and less money. Same with
No, Marvel didn't get more and more woke.
Actually, they did get more woke. I made an entire video about how they did. I cited my source, you can check it out if you want to, but you can't just say I'm wrong because you're too lazy to check it out.
Endgame, I think, was the highest grossing movie of all time, and that literally had a, like, a fucking, girl power moment in the final scene.
Oh, okay, so it had one very brief woke moment, so therefore the entire movie is woke. Dude, there were 20 movies building up to Endgame. People were going to go see it regardless if it was woke or not. Also, it's not the highest grossing movie of all time. I believe it's Avatar or Titanic or something.
On repeat viewings, it's pretty cringe because it feels really forced.
That's because it was cringe and really forced. Welcome to the anti-woke side, my friend.
Authentically written role for the female characters and stuff, which does exist in Marvel, by the way.
Okay, I never said it wasn't.
He's doing the go woke, go broke bit, even though he doesn't agree with that line of logic, as he himself has admitted.
I did? Where? Can you show me the clip? Just because I believe a movie doesn't always bomb because of wokeness, doesn't mean I disagree with get woke, go broke.
You can have the biggest IPs at your disposal, $100 million worth of special effects, and all the positive press in the world. But at the end of the day, all those things don't matter that much if you don't keep your fans happy. And the fans
That's
are
kind
not
of
happy
true
with woke bullshit.
Nah, the fans are actually perfectly fine with that. They're not okay with overworked CGI artists and, like, bad movies. That's ultimately what they're not okay with.
To everybody watching this video, when was the last time you didn't go see a movie because you heard the CGI artists were overworked? And as for bad movies, well, a lot of woke movies are bad, so that's basically the same thing.
The CGI in MCU movies used to be a landmark fucking achievement, you know? Truly like a paragon of advancement in the industry, and now it's just like bargain bin bullshit, you know?
Yeah, I do know. It's almost like they're more focused on being progressive than making an actual good movie.
Going woke has no bearing on whether or not you go broke.
But if people don't go to see your movie if it's full of woke bullshit, then it's gonna make less money.
It's possible for a movie to be woke and, like, perform at the box office, and it's also possible to not.
Yeah, but more often than not, it doesn't do well. Like the Star Wars movies were very woke, and each one made less than the last one.
Stone went woke, the entire film industry went broke. Of course, they won't take any personal responsibility. They'll blame it on streaming services, superhero fatigue, and
Unironically, those are more valid reasons for what's happening right now. The streaming services, meaning that, like, there's not as much of a reason to go to the movies anymore.
Bro, Netflix has been around for, like, ever. Top Gun Maverick wasn't really a woke movie, and it still made $1 billion. There's always going to be reasons for the theater industry not doing good, but all of this woke bullshit is certainly one of them.
personal responsibility. They'll blame it on streaming services, superhero fatigue.
Superhero fatigue was also a big part of this. Think about it. This had been 10 plus years of superhero movies being a mainstay of film culture.
And they were doing good until more and more woke bullshit was being shoved into them. Also, Invincible is still doing good, The Boys is still doing good, so, I think this superhero fatigue is overrated. Oh yeah, and, Spider-Verse also did good.
And the lockdowns, which have already been lifted, before they ever
The lockdowns also did have this effect, but this was more lasting, as a result of the lockdowns. It almost doesn't matter that the lockdowns have been lifted anymore because people, like...
Realize that movies are full of woke bullshit? Dude, first people were blaming the lockdowns, and once the lockdowns were lifted, they still said the lockdowns were having an effect. But Top Gun Maverick still managed to make $1 billion.
So all of the things that he listed as being like, they'll distract you by saying one of these things, all of those are more valid reasons for the film industry's decline than what he just said.
Well, I and a lot of other people are not going to see the new Star Wars movie because we know Disney is going to fill it up with woke bullshit.
No one's going to watch 20 movies and 4 TV shows to be caught up with the universe. Yeah, exactly!
Really? Because I made a whole video about it.
The fucking MCU introduced, like, you have to do homework now and some shit like that.
No, you don't. The movies aren't really building up to anything anymore. Aside from Kang the Conqueror and the multiverse, there's nothing else. At least the last few phases of the MCU were building up to, you know, Thanos. The MCU is unironically easier to follow than it ever has been before.
Really not a good model to set. Also, I'm way far behind because this guy filled my brain with retard shit, and now I can't drive because I'm retarded.
Yes, I infected you with my autism, and now you can't drive. Mwahahaha.
I don't even know what to take away from that, because frankly, this guy didn't either. If I want to be charitable towards him, I would highlight the very strong arguments that he made about there's a correct way to do this, and also, like, the too big to fail bit, and all of the economic critiques and stuff of, like, the producers being fucking ghouls.
That's not being charitable, that's just pointing out the parts you agree with.
But I could just as easily be not very charitable, because, let's be real, he gave me ample opportunity to not be charitable with the retarded shit that he said.
Yeah, and I could have been uncharitable with you at multiple parts during your video. Hell, I could do it right now because you just called me a slur. But it's not hard to be uncharitable, anyone can do it. The thing you should practice is being honest.
It is good that he can potentially take a Gamergator audience and pull them leftwards.
You don't know what Gamergate is, and also, I could just as easily pull people rightwards. I just want to bring people on both the left and the right closer together, but you just want your side to win at any cost.
Used to be my favorite YouTuber. Yeah. You know what? I last time I jumped to conclusions by saying, like, you might want to unsubscribe from this guy.
I don't remember you ever saying that, but if you actually think I'm half as racist or half as sexist as you portrayed me as, then yes, you should tell people to unsubscribe from me.
Wokeness has little to no bearing on whether or not a movie bombs. What a movie lives or dies on the quality of its writing and how...
I guess several anti-woke channels have hundreds of thousands to millions of subscribers for no reason. It's clear to me and a lot of other people that a lot of people are sick of wokeness.
And, you know, with wokeness, nobody fucking knows what that word means.
You clearly don't, that's for sure.
But in this guy's case, it's like axiomatic woke equals bad. So if something's bad, it's woke. And if something's woke, it's bad. And if something's progressive and good, that means it can't be woke.
Nope, that wasn't my point at all. You just misunderstood me over and over again in ways that I can't comprehend.
I will choose to be more charitable because this guy thinks positively of Vaush, and that's like a way rarer sight.
I don't speak positively of Vaush, and I hope as time goes on, less and less people speak positively of him.
You know, how do I write this? Because they're interested, the producers and the executives are interested in collecting a check. A lot of them are racist fucks, so their image of what diversity looks like is very skewed.
Wow, it almost sounds like that's a big part of wokeness or something.
He also says no socialists have jobs. Yeah, okay, back to retard shit, I guess.
I don't believe I've ever said that. Do you just believe people in your chat no matter what?
First, he does not like the circumstances of his upbringing. Of like, he doesn't like the Christian fundamentalism, he doesn't like the fucking, abuse and shit, and that led him to the new atheist and whatever. And then number two is that he's a retard. And that's it. That's my assessment of that video.
And of course, we're ending off this video with this progressive guy calling me a slur once again. Now, I want to make this clear, I'm not offended at all. I just find it really ironic. But yeah, I didn't like Christians trying to control my life, telling me I couldn't read Harry Potter, or enjoy Pokemon, or play D&D, and other stuff like that. But your side, on the other hand, is 10 times worse. I was happy being apolitical, and then you guys had to ruin Star Wars, Marvel, and so many other things. According to yourself, I'm a mix of left and right, but rightoids are leaving me alone. People on your side are not. You have purposely slandered me multiple times throughout your video. I hope you grow and have more life experiences and listen to people who aren't on your side. And when I say listen to them, I mean listen to them, not constantly twisting what they say to make it as cartoonishly racist as possible. This is by far the longest video I have ever made on this channel, but I got other fish to fry. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Here's a video just on his politics if you want more content. Stop!
Now before we get to the credits, I just want to tell you guys that on my main channel, I just did a video about reaction channels, so please go check it out. The next video on this channel is going to be a lot shorter. Anyways, let's get to the credits.